welcome to Paul Revere Radio, the live broadcast. We've got a lot of news to cover today.
Today's the official inaugural show, correct?
Oh, yeah. First
That's
2 hour
right.
show. And yes, I fixed my microphone stand, so y'all shouldn't be yelling at me anymore about the microphone being too low. I think first thing we're gonna cover is the government shutdown. Of course, we've got to cover this. Of course, it's not really much of a shutdown.
Did the government shut down? I
Well,
didn't notice. It didn't affect my day.
You know, according to NOAA, it has. I'll go ahead and put that on screen for you. NOAA has completely shut down their website anyway. So in other words, I mean, I don't know if y'all know anything about websites, but take the Paul Revere website, it would actually cause me more work to shut it down than just to let it run. So we're spending money to make things look worse than they really are.
Seems to be a theme in the government.
Oh, yeah. I know there was...
Before we get to today's breaking news on the latest idiotic shutdown of the government, I did this on another show on Tuesday night. I just want to let people know, kind of go through what continues without interruption in a government shutdown. And what continues is all services essential for national security and public safety, so military, law enforcement not affected, all of that's still up and running. Social security and veterans benefits continue, no matter what scare tactics Jay Carney and the administration may use. Air traffic control and the TSA, unfortunately the TSA, continue to operate.
So they still get to look for Al-Qaeda in your underwear?
Yeah, actually, though,
Free proctology exams are still available at your local airport.
Leno did say you would have to grope yourself as you went through the TSA lines now to save on costs. Border control and coastal control still continue. Not that we really have much border control. Protection of federal lands, waterways, other property, care of prisoners in federal custody, criminal investigations, the post office. They'll drive right over your lawn still, for those of you who saw that video. That continues to operate. Presidential travel, which is key. Can't lose that. That continues.
But he did, I swear it's because of the public pressure, he did cancel his trip Friday.
Well, I'd heard there were...
That was 2 nights. I don't think that was the entire trip.
Yeah, he
really?
canceled the entire
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd heard it's because there's no good golf courses in Bali. So
There's a lot of sand.
In the sand, yeah.
a lot of sand.
The whole thing's a sand
The whole thing
trap.
is one
So,
big
you know.
bunker. Yeah.
Emergency and disaster assistance, despite the fact that NOAA may not have a website up, disaster assistance would continue if there were a storm.
Oh, and by the way, the National Hurricane Service is still up. You just can't go to NOAA's website.
And what's down is the hurricane threat, because now it's barely a tropical storm.
It is still there. If you go to weather.gov, you can
It's
link
a rain
through
cloud.
to the.
It's really not a storm, is it?
You can still link through to the National Hurricane Center, and just to show that, I can put that up. The National Hurricane Center is still alive. Again, they're not really spending any extra money to keep it up. It's just up because it's up.
Yeah,
In other words, they forgot to take it down.
Production of power and maintenance distribution systems continue, and Matt, I know you'll be glad to hear preservation of money and banking systems.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
So,
Keep pumping $85 billion a month into the crony banks.
There goes
stealing
the show,
it.
ladies and gentlemen, because Matt will take that on for another hour and 55 minutes.
No, we'll get into that a little later.
So those are the things that keep operating in a government, and as Rubio calls it, a government slowdown. I think that's a better term than a government shutdown. Some of the things, though, that do get shut down, makes you kind of shake your head at what this president chooses to play politics with. He chooses to play politics with 80 and 90-year-old World War II vets who, if it weren't for them storming the barricades that the Park Service put up to block their entry to the World War II monument, they wouldn't be able to get into that, despite the fact that it's an open-air monument and that There are no Park Service people that normally work it or monitor it, and there are no barricades on a normal day.
Well, I hear they're actually trying to keep people out with barbed wiring or just wiring around the barricades.
barbed
It's
wire.
no barbed wire. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
metal barricades at this point.
Yeah.
But I do find it funny that they thought they were going to stop World War II vets. You know, the guys that stormed the beaches, and yeah, I don't care. They'll storm your little memorial in their wheelchairs, just like they did. It's wonderful. That's the American spirit. That's what we need. I want to see millions of people there.
Because it's their memorial, not the president's.
That's right. It is privately run.
I mean, that's one thing. And then today is, we have a president that not only is trying to play games, but truly just doesn't like our military. I mean, it's pretty clear. Today's headline from Washington Examiner, military, and when I say military, it comes down to the commander-in-chief. Military keeps Camp David open, but cuts NFL and baseball television coverage to our troops overseas. So it's okay for the president to be able to go to Camp David, play golf, or skeet shoot, but our men and women overseas who are defending our country can't watch a little baseball when they're in their downtime.
And while he's playing golf and they're not able to play baseball, if you are a priest in the military, you are not allowed to minister to military men and women on the base. In fact, they are threatening you with arrest if you're a priest and you do your job in the military.
Let me add something else here while we're on military. This president also attempted to cancel. There's a college football game this weekend. It's between two service academies. It's the Navy and Air Force that are playing this weekend.
Oh, we can't have that.
No, well, that was what Obama's administration first said, but there was such an uproar over that, and this Obama just continues to shoot himself in the foot every time he makes one of these stupid decisions, like the World War II monument in this game. It would have actually cost the service academies millions of dollars to not play the game. So they're actually making money playing this game. But
Well,
he would shut it down.
The
to
entire sports
play
program is
politics.
run on private. It pays for itself. There's no federal funds there anyway.
That's right. So, let's make this clear. There's been 17 of these shutdowns over the last 30 years. So this is by no means unique or special or something that's only being done to this administration or more.
Does
to the
anybody
point
know
by
how
this
long we've had
administration.
an extension as far as a shutdown in government? The longest we've ever went? Because obviously we've only been, into this for about a week.
21 days.
21 days the longest?
Yeah.
All right.
But in those 17 shutdowns, Obama's the only president to close military cemeteries of any of those 17 shutdowns.
Because the dead people use so much money.
He's the only president to order closed the Lincoln Memorial. Has anyone been to Washington? Do you remember having to have any park rangers there to help you get through the Lincoln
Well,
Memorial?
now
Well, they're still there.
Now there's police there not only for the shutdown, but under normal circumstances they're there because it is now illegal to dance at the Lincoln Memorial, and they will throw you in jail.
It boggles my mind because I don't understand why they
Yeah.
can be there to keep people out, but yet if they let the people in, just making sure there's no chaos or anything that takes place. I mean, I just don't understand why they can just not let people in to see these monuments. If they're holding people back, I mean, they're obviously working for the government, am I right? I mean, they're on the payroll. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It costs more in a lot of these cases. That's exactly right, Rick. It costs more to shut down these monuments.
Well, I mean,
than to
if
keep
we
them
talk
open.
about the sequester kept everybody out of the White House. I mean, obviously, Obama shut down the tours, and to this day, there hasn't been any tours. So he's just basically shutting down the government one by one. I mean, he's shutting down everything,
Yeah, the only
all
person
because he's being stubborn on what he really believes in.
The only person that should have been kept out of the White House is still there, and that's Obama.
Just to take a step back because you hadn't seen it, I'll put it on screen for everybody. Yes, it is in fact illegal to dance at the Jefferson Memorial in any national park at this point. National Park Service has upheld the arrest of 5 people for dancing at the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. So it is illegal to dance at all on federal property at this point.
Not surprised. Everything's illegal these days. I mean, it's like you walk down the street. I'm sure at some point I can't spit gum on the sidewalk. I see that coming at some point down the road.
It's already illegal in most states. It's a felony to
really?
spit on the sidewalks, even not just
Oh, now we
gum,
can't
but
even
yeah,
spit on
you
a
can't spit on the
sidewalk.
sidewalks. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the average person. Last time I was reading a book, and I won't quote the book, or I won't plug the book because we don't have any sponsors yet. But it was a big lawyer that wrote the book, and he said that the average person commits up to 4 to 5 felonies a day and doesn't even know it, because that's how ridiculous our legal system has become.
Yeah, I'd read that somewhere too, Matt.
I think one of these days we're going to have to pick through the laws and see what's a felony and what's not a felony. I'm
How
sure there's a
about-
lot of ridiculous.
How about we go by the
laws out there.
Constitution and just say, you know what, if there's no victim, if you're not hurting anyone else, you have a constitutional right to do what you want as long as you're not hurting anybody. No victim, no crime.
Yeah, but you don't see any legislators going up there and saying, "Hey, you know what? We need to eliminate bills." Most of the time, it's like let's pass as many bills as we can, and then they'll claim that they're deregulating the government, or they're actually taking away
and this
these
goes
laws,
back to the
but they're only
government
taking away a
shutdown
few.
and why it's actually not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because the way our government was designed was for gridlock. Gridlock is good.
Right.
The more the government does,
Government
the more
shutdown
tyrannical it
is
becomes.
not such a bad thing. It's actually something they used to quite frequently use in the past. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, no, absolutely. The other thing that you talk about, and I've had C-SPAN on in the office every day since before the shutdown. They're all saying the same thing repeatedly every day. But the one thing that really kind of grates on my nerves, among many things that the Senate Democrats keep saying, and the Senate and the House Democrats. Well, we need to pass a clean continuing resolution that funds the whole government. That it's unprecedented we don't do this. Well, none of that's true. In regular order, up until 4 years ago when Obama took office, government passed all their appropriations piecemeal, as they kind of call it, piecemeal. That's how they were passed. They were passed funding departments at a time. Not
But they
in
did
one
it. They did
big
it in
group.
small. Yeah, they did it in small bills. Here's
So
the thing:
it's-
we're passing 30,000-page bills, which is something they probably wanted to pass within 10 years, and they're saying, "Oh, let's do 10 years worth of work and pass it in one bill."
Well, it's more revisionist history by the Democrats. They like to pretend history and the rest of things that happened within the government never happened. This is unprecedented. We've never had to.
They're
pass things one at a
storytellers. That's what
time.
they do.
Well,
Well, where the hell's the media?
They
to
color
call
a
them
book
out
for
on
the
it?
people. See, here's the thing: is that what they expect from the American people, and I have to say this to be honest, is that even when you're running campaigns, and I've worked on a few, I think the thing is that most of these politicians, and I have to say a lot of the folks out there, not all, but majority, read at an 8th grade level. So the thing is that they have to color a book and make a story to present what they want to pass and what they want to do, and have their talking points. In many of the cases, they lie. And they have to lie, they have to stretch the truth, they have to exaggerate. And the thing is that that's what the American people hear, and they think that is fact.
But where is the media? Where are they doing their job? I mean,
There
we're
is no
talking about
media
here on Paul
anymore.
Revere, but where's
Walter
ABC or
Cronkite does
NBC?
not
Where are
exist
they?
anymore. Walter
the-
Cronkite's gone.
the media like this media right now has become the real media. We're
That's
the ones
right.
who actually tell the truth. What you see on TV, the cable media, is dying. I mean, come on, the spot that Piers Morgan used to be, or that he's on now.
I hear he's getting canceled, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
I heard
Why?
that.
Because he's got less than 500,000 viewers a week. That used to be a 10 million viewer a night show.
Well, CNN used to dominate the ratings back in the day because they were the only news source that was open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's
now
right.
Now they have to compete with Fox, MSNBC,
But even
and all the rest
Fox,
of them.
even Fox is tanking at this point.
Really?
Well,
Yes,
part of what we're
all the major media is tanking.
Part of what
Huh.
we're seeing is a fall off. They're comparing numbers to last year, and it's just a fact that it's a non-election year, so less people tune in. So everyone's numbers are down. but
Everyone's numbers are down, but they're down astronomically right now.
they are.
It's
They are.
completely tanking across the board because people know that we don't have media anymore. We don't have real media. We've got state-run media.
Well,
all
it's
they
all
do is
opinion
take talking
pieces.
points from Media Matters, who's nothing more than a mouthpiece for the White House.
If you watch all of the 24/7 news networks out there, most of them are all opinionated. None of them are real hard fact news reporting.
That's
it's
right,
always
because they're just White House talking
well,
pieces.
Chris, one of your favorite shows, and you've admitted, is the Five, right?
I love
well,
The
let me
Five.
say the Five is opinion piece show.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got 5 opinions on there, and they're going to try to bring up ratings and try to make it funny and try to make it attractive. And the thing is that they only do that with one Democrat. Then they got the Libertarian. They got the comedian. They got all
I'll
these
ad-
different
I'll
hits.
admit it's just the View for guys.
It is. Well, for women as well. There are some women on the show. But the thing is that for the most part, it's all opinionated news. It's really like reality show for news, because that's all it is.
That's exactly what it is. It's not real news, and that's probably why I like it, because if they were trying to make real news, I'd just get frustrated at the lack of fact.
So let's move into Obamacare then.
Wait. We got a lot more to talk about shutdown here.
All right. Keep going.
What would you call essential personnel, Matt? And I know your definition is going to be a lot smaller than most.
Yeah, my definition is going to be like, if run the no, obviously you're not running for profit, but just run a line of thought. Run the government like a business. You know what? If on Paul Revere here, I'm not going to hire someone that I don't absolutely need. Therefore, if I have to lay them off, it hurts me, and I've got to pick up the load for everyone else. If you're considered non-essential, you shouldn't be there to begin with.
Well, and I heard this thrown out on C-SPAN as I was watching the debates over the weekend, and it's a good point. And it may have been Cruz that said it. I'm not sure. I don't think it was, but if we have 800,000 non-essential employees, A, why do we really have them? But B, maybe we should be using this period of time with only essential employees working to kind of go back to the Constitution and figure out what the hell government actually should be doing anyway. And maybe we could start eliminating not just positions, but maybe departments and really scaling back the size of government.
Oh, you mean like the TSA and the NSA and
the DEA,
yeah, we got
How
a
many
lot.
acronyms are
energy.
out there?
I have no idea. Way too many for me to keep track.
But here's
of.
the thing. I mean, we're all wishfully hoping that something like this may happen, but until people take action and actually go out there and
that's
voice
kinda
their opinion. They did it back in 2010
That's
with
right.
the whole Obamacare thing
But
with
it's
the Tea Party.
it's far more than just voting. That's what Paul Revere is all about. It's not only to educate the viewers, but we're also there to motivate people to get out and do something more than voting.
Take action.
Take
Right.
action. Go speak at your local city council.
Well,
Go
let's say
speak at
this.
your-
I mean, just recently, the Americans for Prosperity had a protest downtown Fort Myers on Obamacare in front of Bill Nelson's office.
Yeah.
And it was really great to see maybe there were a good 30, 40 people there. But it would have been great if we had maybe 50 more or maybe even 100 more. And the thing is that we need to start pushing these events and start pushing the American agenda. And the American agenda is we want to eliminate a lot of these programs and a lot of these departments. And the thing is that it's not going to happen until the people get louder and louder and louder.
But it was raining that day, Rick. People would have to get
Well,
to go out
they all
there.
stayed, and they stayed, and the news showed up, and it showed the fact that we were drenched. And not all of us had umbrellas because we didn't expect it to rain so hard. But the thing is, we stuck to our guns, and we stood by what we were standing for. And what we're standing for is telling Bill Nelson that we don't want this. Although Bill Nelson's going to say, this is what I want, and he's going to do it anyway, and he's not going to represent the people. I think majority of the population here in Southwest Florida is against Obamacare.
I'm gonna read something here, and I think it sums things up real well when it comes to this shutdown. But this was from a guy by the name of David French, and this was posted a couple of days ago. I posted it to my Facebook page, and we can share it with our viewers here, after the show. But and it really just sums up what's going on, and it's as if the entire conservative case against the Obama administration's incompetence, malice, and inefficiency was boiled down into one incident. And this is referring to the World War II issue, the monument issue. But boils down to one incident, government overreach. That's the first point. This was a monument built almost entirely through private donations. Now the government pretends the monument belongs to it, not the people who donated to build it, not the vets who sacrificed that it honors, and not to the families of the vets and other citizens who want to use it to teach their kids about courage, honor, and sacrifice. So we've got government overreach, which this administration is certainly
They're certainly
famous
doing
for.
it, yeah.
I mean, you can't get more overreaching.
You can't
than
spit on the
this- than
sidewalks
this
anymore.
government.
Oh, that's been that way for a long time.
Has it really?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
been since Daddy Bush.
Now, for this government, they would need a study on spitting on the sidewalk, and then they would need regulations on how to do it and how to prevent it.
Oh no, they wouldn't, because
you know what?
This
And then they
administration,
would subsidize it.
yeah, this administration is far worse than any other. I'll give you that, but they don't ever need a real study to restrict our freedoms. They need lots of studies to give us any freedom, but to restrict it, they just across the board do it.
Well, no, they still got to spend money on a study so that they can,
Well, they're
do it.
gonna.
They got to spend the money too. Can't just restrict our rights without spending our money too.
Well, it's all monopoly.
But we're
money
spending
anyway,
more.
so-
Wait. But we're spending more than we're taking in. So how are we supposed to spend money on these studies that you speak of?
Well, because we'll just print more,
Well,
right? Or borrow more.
Oh, we don't even print it anymore.
But
We don't even go
doesn't-
through that
wait,
process.
right.
They hit a button.
but has anybody, if anybody's taken some simple,
think we still print
if
it.
anybody's ever taken some simple economic classes, they would tell you that if you keep printing and printing and printing more money and spending on these programs and spending on these studies, overall what happens is that we have inflation. And then we go into a more deeper and deeper recession. So what's the solution? The solution is to cut government, right?
Absolutely.
So I think here's the thing. Republicans need to be cutting programs, cutting spending. And here's the thing that they haven't been doing. They haven't been doing the cutting and the spending. The thing is that they have these golden parachutes they talk about, and remember TARP and all that other thing that happened in the past. Now, the past is the past, and yes, a lot of things may
Sound
be
like Nancy
changing.
Pelosi now. Wait.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of things have been changing over the years.
But
and
it's
I
always
think people
changing
are
for the
standing
worse.
Right, but you got Ted Cruz and you've got leaders out there that are trying to lead this party in the right direction. Now we got a rift down the center, so you've got the old party and you've got the Tea Party. You got the grand old party on one side and you got the Tea Party. Now there's that rift in the center. How are you supposed to fix this? How are you supposed to fix the spending and
It's called
the studies and
it's
all the
called-
other spending?
It's called electing the right people to office and taking action and doing the things that Matt just talked
and
about.
But I think
it's
people
so
are
much more
upset.
than
They don't know
that.
who to trust.
Hold on a second. I want to point this out. Now, obviously, I don't agree with everything Anonymous does, but here's one thing that's actually good, although I don't like the mask part. I think we should just do it out in the open. I did notice that there is a 1 million mask march scheduled for right here in Fort Myers.
Really?
Yeah, I believe it's next month. And it's, a bunch of people. So far, I looked, there's like 150 people signed up. So it's not real big yet. But it's
Next
where
month,
they all
they're
don
supposed to come up with another 990,000.
Well, it's just like any
900
other
more
march.
people?
Honestly, the Tea Party can't even get 1 million people when they
You're
call it
right.
1 million people.
Well,
So
the first
it's
Tea
all
Party
just-
event we had over 10,000 people
That-
there at
that's
Centennial
right.
Park. That was back in 2010. The
That's
year
right.
after that and the year after that, it got smaller and smaller. And
That's
now
right.
there's maybe
But it's
100 people
called-
that show up.
It's called a 1 million man march. Just for point of
Marketing.
reference, it's just
Marketing,
it's just
yeah.
marketing. But yeah, this is the whole don the Guy Fawkes mask, get out there, just march, just like V for Vendetta, where they march up to the police force, the police state people, and the guys.
That's all
just
reference to
realize-
Guy Fawkes in
yes,
England. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what all this is about, and it's just showing. Look, we've got more people than you, and you need to be on our side, be on the side of right. Now, this I agree with. Like I said, I would rather do it, in the open, lose the mask, be who you are, because you really have no anonymity anyway.
So,
But do what you will. If you really want to do the mask, do the mask. I don't care. But get out there and do something.
So
I
speaking,
don't support all the hacking of certain things, although I can't really go. Some of it, I gotta. But but I can't support everything they've done. But as far as the activism, go get them, guys.
Okay.
get off the couch and do something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's move off of overreach to the second part of French's article, and it's government inefficiency. And he says it doesn't cost money
That's
to
our whole
keep
government.
basically, it doesn't cost money to keep an open-air memorial open. It costs money to put up barricades. It costs money to man the barricades with security. So now we're spending money to save money? That sounds like Nancy Pelosi there. No, the administration is spending money to punish the public. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are spending money to make this as
Just like
painful for you
unemployment.
and I, just like they did with sequester, to make this seem more painful than it is, because the fact is that unless you work for the government, most of us will never feel the shutdown affect us personally?
Well, here's the
And
thing. Wait,
honestly,
can I
if
say
you
this real
work for the
quick?
government
Real
and
quick.
you feel this, other than a couple that have been done simply to be vindictive,
That's right.
you shouldn't be working for the government anyway.
Here's the thing. The Democrats do claim that they work for the government. It's the unemployment check. That increases the economy. That improves the
but
economy.
the unemployment
According to
check's not being
Pelosi,
the
yeah.
unemployment check's not being cut off. So
Well, they're extending it. You know, you can be on unemployment now for almost 2 years.
I know.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And we'll pay
And
you
that-
not to work. There's a good economic stimulus right there. We'll pay you to sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah, it improves the economy. You knew
Oh
that,
yeah,
right?
according to Pelosi. Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
yes.
So I'm going to add one more thing in that French didn't say in this article, but that's been said by many other people. Seven park people, 7 guards to man that World War II monument that the damn government didn't even pay for, but 5 guards in Benghazi.
damned
Five-
government.
5 people in Benghazi.
We're gonna have to get 'em a tinfoil
7
hat.
at
You
the
know,
World-
I would like to know
7 at the World War II
Chris,
monument.
you know what I'd like to know about that statistic is how many guards are actually there when it's open?
None. 0.
No guards.
No.
No,
Really?
it's an open air
It's an
monument. Have you ever been to
open-
DC?
I have
right?
been there. I have.
Okay,
been there,
so
yeah.
you've been to the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial. Up until recently, there were no guards. Now there are.
Right.
And now it's more of a police state than anything. It's just showing you're the slave.
Be afraid of the police state.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. A bunch of jackbooted thugs, and that's all it is. All right.
Well, this is straight up Chicago politics thuggery. This is exactly what they would do.
This is
back in
straight
Chicago.
up. This is straight up Soviet Russia style police state.
Hmm.
This is what we're looking at.
Third point of French's article is government malice. And he makes this point very well. A government run by people of goodwill, who are true public servants, would have immediately reached out to the myriad of private veterans groups to have kept the memorials open during the shutdown. The line of volunteers to man the memorial, provide tours, keep the bathrooms clean, would have stretched around the block. Between the VFW, American Legion, the memorial could have manned and maintained it in perpetuity. So, no, the purpose is for Obama to make this painful for the American citizens, not to find a solution, not because we really have a problem with these things not being able to be kept up because of a shutdown, but because he wants this to hurt. He wants to prove himself right. This is politics, pure and simple for him, and
No, I
sits
think
there
it's
not
because he's stubborn.
negotiating.
I think it's because he's stubborn and he's always gotten his way.
Well,
I think that's
he
what it
needs
has
to
to
not get his way here. If I were John Boehner, I would have, after the 3rd time trying to make a deal, said, all right, until the Senate's ready to talk, we're closing shop and going home. When they're ready to do something about this shutdown that they created, then come talk to me. I'll be here and waiting. But until then, I guess we're done. And, Mr. President, I'm not going to come to the White House just so you can tell me that we're not going to negotiate. You could have done that in an email, assuming the servers still work and it's not shut down. It's people need to burn up the White House phone lines over this shutdown, over this awful treatment of our veterans, of our military,
And
of
on
the
that
American
note-
citizens. They need to burn up the phone lines, call the White House, voice your displeasure with Barack Obama's shutdown of the government and his politics playing with our veterans and our military and everybody else in this country. And I think we have a phone number for our listeners.
It's
Matt.
202-456-1111. That is the White House number. Blow it up, guys.
Call them. Tell them that you won't put up with this. And maybe then they'll get to negotiate and table and try and make something happen instead of sitting back playing politics with this.
And that is, of course, if they answer. I've tried to call that a few times. I have never been able to get through, even when nothing is going on. In fact, I was telling Chris before the show, at one point I was actually transferred, before anybody picked up, to a non-essential police line. So,
Maybe the switchboard operator is essential, but I can tell you who is, Matt, looking at some of these studies. The 20 people on the First Lady's staff, including 4 that are paid 6-figure salaries, they're essential because they're still working.
oh yeah.
Well, are we going to move on to the Obamacare?
Yeah, let's do that. We're gonna kill this dead horse again if we don't.
Can I start off real quick with the
I thought we
article
were
I
doing
got
a
here?
filibuster. I was getting into Ted Cruz mode.
Okay. We've got this article I've got here, and you might want to pull up on the screen there, Matt, from thedailycaller.com. It's dead people can now sign up for health care in Kentucky. I guess this makes a whole lot of sense because now we're getting closer to Halloween and it's October. But
And I think ZombieCon's coming up in Fort
and
Myers. isn't it?
ZombieCon is coming up.
weekend.
Yeah, it is next weekend. But the thing is that there's a few quotes on here, folks, if you want to check out and see what it says. The thing is, overall, is that they've got this whole thing all messed up. They really don't understand what they're doing, and if they did know what they were doing, they'd pass this bill in small amounts instead of one large 20,000.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be done. This whole, lump sum deal is not the way that it's supposed to be done. It never has been up until recently. It's always been piecemeal. You approve this, you approve that. Just like when you're doing your budget at home,
Yeah.
you don't say, okay, well, I'm going to spend this much. No, you go through and you figure out how much everything's going to cost, and you do it one piece at a time. That's the way the
But
budget's
you know what?
supposed to work.
Both parties have been doing that for years. And the thing is that, passing huge bills. And now that we're at a government shutdown and they're passing these small little bills just to, give access to not Vietnam, but World War II vets to visit the memorial and maybe fund, vets that have no income coming in or whatever the case may be. But the thing is that they're passing these small little bills to keep, their constituents happy, and I get all that, and it's the right thing to do for vets. But the thing is that overall, they're passing these small little bills, and that's how our government was designed, to pass these small little bills. Now they're just passing them in mass amounts, huge bills, that are just thousands of pages long.
And that's how the government has worked historically up until 4 or 5 years ago when this president became president. Up until then, government was funded basically by department. It wasn't funded in one spending bill. And maybe the media wants you to believe that, but the fact is that's not true. The fact is that it's only Harry Reid and the Senate that have made it this effed up. And I say effed up on purpose. It wasn't because I lost my mind. But since we're on Obamacare and we've gone from dead people.
Dead people can sign up for health care now.
You know the number they could call if they want to get signed up?
I don't know if they have a pulse.
Well, assuming dead people could call, they would get to call 1-800 I won't say the word. FU. That is the number. That is the phone number, and I'm not making it up. We verified this. It's been in several articles. And
you think they'd look this over before they actually put it out there to the public? Like, listen, this is that number we should not use because it's got abbreviations to a profanity.
It's not even abbreviations.
Not to mention
it's
if
the
you're
word
looking
spelled out.
And if you're looking in Kentucky, people that are deceased can now be covered under health insurance. The thing is that all these things are coming out, and they're surprised. Oh, we have kinks going on. We don't know what's going on. And at the same time, they were saying that the first person to sign up for health care also was a ploy, was a made up individual. I heard about that too. But the thing is that what are the people doing about it?
Let me just say, if you are the guy in the White House that came up with the 1-800 FU phone number,
you'd think you get fired.
I think you should certainly be non-essential personnel right now.
Yeah, and just to prove it, guys, here's Zero Hedge, and if you don't think Zero Hedge is reliable, then you've got other problems.
And it's been on so many other sites.
Yeah, but there you go. Now, of course, they abbreviate and things so that they don't get in trouble. But
and part of it is you have to take the number 1 out because there is no letter associated number 1 on your phone. So, I think it's absolutely fitting for Obamacare to have that.
Well, that's
number.
what it is. It's a big FU to America.
Absolutely.
I forgot to mention real quickly, and I'm not going to try to change it the issue that we're on right now on Obamacare, but the thing is I forgot to mention about the whole government shutdown. On day 3, President Obama spent the day getting his portrait made in the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Was he holding a
I saw
golf
that.
club in the portrait?
So obviously he's probably drinking his champagne and having a nice relaxing day, and he's getting his portrait done by some kind of painter, or I don't know if it was it looks like it was a painting. Yes, it was. You might want to put that up on the screen.
Yeah, it's already up.
All right. It's just amazing the arrogance from this president. Where is the people's president? Why isn't he out there in the trenches with the people that are hurting right now? I don't get that.
It has nothing to do with that. He sees himself as royalty.
And
He
you know
sees
what? The
himself as
public
King Obama.
treats him like that. The thing is, the media treats him like that, and then people are going to believe it. And the young people treat him as a rock star. The thing is that when are people going to wake up? And I don't think they will wake up. I think this guy is going to go down in legend in the history books of being royalty, U.S. royalty. Just like they said the same thing about the Kennedys back in a few decades back.
I honestly think, look at his poll numbers. I mean, even in the government shutdown, his poll numbers are tanking even further.
That doesn't
and yes,
mean they
by
can
the way, that
manipulate
should be the White House phone number at this point. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think he's going to go down in history as far worse than even Carter.
Oh, there's no question about that. The only difference is that the media never really swooned all over Carter like they are over Obama, because
But
he
the
wasn't
media-
hip, but so
The media
so-
can swoon all they want. The American people are speaking. I mean, Gallup is saying that his poll numbers are down to 41%.
But you know,
That
the problem
doesn't
with
matter.
with
Young
with
people.
historical context is who writes.
Yep, they
the
can write
history
the
books.
write the
So,
books.
You know, that's the only thing that worries me is that in the future,
Your
you know,
grandkids will
he's
be reading how
about
great
this
Obama was.
president.
And the way that we stop that from happening is we got to get active, because the victor writes history. So if you want
Exactly.
real
I've always
history,
said it this way, Matt.
you've got to get involved, and you got to make sure we come out on top.
We are
we
way
are
behind.
the debt generation, our generation, and like I just said a minute ago, that our grandkids are going to be reading history books about how great this guy was, how
All right.
great Obama was. And the thing is he's not out there like when he first ran for president. How he's going to unify both sides of both parties.
You're absolutely right. We're considered the debt generation politically. Now, it's time for one of your favorite moments here. It's time for a Matt rant. Okay.
All right, we'll be back in 40 minutes.
All right. So here's the deal. Okay, we're going to tie in Obamacare into the debt and show how Obamacare really has nothing to do with health care. Once you go past face value, Obamacare is really a war on the American economy. And it's a strategic war. It really is. It has forced the economy to go to a part-time economy, which makes the unemployment rate go down, because every job is counted, whether it's part-time or not. So you're working 3 or 4 jobs, and that counts as 3 or 4 people working. All right, good. Woohoo, Matt rant. All right, so yeah, get me all off track here. So
Okay, what you're saying is 4 people that live in a home have 4 jobs. Are they all part-time workers?
that could be.
Okay, so we're turning into a part-time
We're
nation.
absolutely
Yeah.
we're turning into a part-time nation. In fact, they're lowering the work week to 29 hours.
So yeah, I mean, I have a friend. I'm sure he's listening to the show, or at least he'll listen to the replay. And we'll do replays regularly. We'll post this stuff constantly. So if people aren't able to listen today or want to
Oh,
hear
yeah,
us
it's
a
all on
second
the site.
time,
But
we'll get that.
before we go into that, I've got to go further here, because this goes a lot further. Okay, guys, this does tie into the Federal Reserve. Okay, the Federal Reserve is printing out money now, basically stealing through the back door $85 billion worth of our debt a month right now, and they keep saying, well, we're gonna taper it back, and it never happens, and it never will, because if they start to taper, you can't taper a Ponzi scheme, guys. It crashes overnight, and our American economy is a Ponzi scheme right now, and Obamacare is nothing more than the icing on the cake. All right. This is the death of the American economy through hyperinflation. And what has to happen for hyperinflation is, number one, massive debt. Check. I think we've had that even before Obamacare. All right, now it's going to be even worse. All right, a severe shock to the economy. All right, we've already had that through numerous outlets, but Obamacare, once again, is a much worse shock than even 9/11 was. All right? And then you've got to have a feedback loop, which I just talked about, which is the $85 billion a month right now in QE, really what it is, QE Unlimited, quantitative easing, if you don't know what that is. That's printing money, guys. Now, why haven't we had this happen already? It's very simple. We are the world reserve currency. All right? Our money is being printed so fast, but it's being absorbed by the rest of the world, so it's very hard for us to go into hyperinflation, because there's just so much room for all this debt and all this currency to go everywhere. But here's the big kicker. A couple months ago, and we put it on screen here for you. Sorry, guys, I have to run the whole show here, so I get a little off track sometimes. But China and Russia are now acquiring gold and dumping the U.S. dollar. We are losing world reserve currency. In fact, Australia already dumped us as their reserve currency, and they went to the Chinese currency. So we are losing world reserve currency, and I don't make
Where's the
predictions
source on that?
times. Let me pull it up for you. But I don't make predictions on time. But I don't think it's going to be more than a couple years until we start seeing the massive effects of inflation. And
I don't think many young people can understand what inflation is. I mean, because last time we had high inflation was back in the 1970s. Am I right?
yeah,
Back in Carter's administration.
Yeah,
so many people
well-
don't. Well, they kind of see it now. They see it now with their, their groceries and their daily. What should I say?
here you go, guys. I'll put this
Purchases.
on screen for you now.
But
I think the NSA,
what do you
I
got there?
think
Can
the
you explain
NSA
that
just-
graph?
Okay,
I think the NSA just tuned in though, Matt, because across the stream came. I am watching you, Chris.
yeah, the graph. I haven't read this particular article. This is Zero Hedge. The graph seems to be showing. And I'm not going to read it on air because that's going to be really boring for you all. It seems to be showing the decline of Australia's money as long as it's tied to the U.S. dollar, and then what happens when they tied it into China and Japan's money. It started to climb a little bit. But anyway, yeah, the headline is, thanks world reserve currency, but no thanks Australia and China to enable direct currency convertibility, which means they have dumped the U.S. dollar as the world reserve for them, as their
For them.
reserve.
Oh, why should they stay on the U.S. dollar? We keep losing
Exactly.
our credit rating.
Exactly,
I mean, it
it's
keeps
tanking.
Yeah. It gets
Not only
worse.
that, but it's like me at this point. It's like me saying I'm gonna go buy a piece of gold with a shovel full of dirt. There's no worth to the American dollar anymore. The thing that makes currency worth something is the fact that it's rare. But the U.S. dollar is not rare anymore. It's the most plentiful thing in the world.
Not in my pocket.
So, not in your pocket, but in the bank's pockets. I mean, like I said, all this QE is going to the banks, which is yet another reason why we haven't seen direct hyperinflation yet, because it hasn't made it to the U.S. market. It's going to the crony banks like J.P. Morgan, Chase, stuff like that. It's going into them, and then into the stock market, which is why you're seeing the stock market go up, even though the job market is tanking, because there's billions of dollars being pumped into the stock market indirectly through QE.
Well,
Right.
there's just no correlation anymore between jobs and the stock market.
And
They're
that's my point, because what's
Exactly.
keeping the stock market up is QE. And as soon as they start to taper that, which like I said won't happen, because they let me go back to the video.
Well,
feed.
you saw the dive in the market when Bernanke
Yeah.
hinted at easing
And that was
off
just a hint.
on the interest rates.
And I don't know if you remember, but we talked about and I told you there's no way they're going to do it.
Right.
There's no way.
They can't.
It's impossible. It's nothing but a dog and pony show. So yes, guys, there's the first official Matt rant.
Yay. Good job, Matt. Good job. Hey, I'd like to mention, too, that GOP lawmakers are... Boehner tells colleagues yet he will avoid a default on the federal debt. So it sounds like
That's a
there
good
might be some deals being made to avoid a government shutdown. I mean, there is a government shutdown going now, but I'm just saying to avoid a default on the
the debt
national
limit.
debt. Yeah.
And yet again, well, back to the rant I just made, the default will happen. No matter what. It's either going to happen now with that or down the road. And it's actually going to be far worse if it happens later, because there's just more and more, debt piled into it. What really needs to happen is honestly, we need to allow the default. And then when the other countries come to us, and when the Federal Reserve, because they're the ones we owe the most money to, it's actually not China, we owe the Federal Reserve, and it's all fraudulent debt. It's all fraud. We need to do the same thing that Iceland did. And when
What did Iceland do?
The IMF,
Built igloos.
yeah, the
No,
IMF,
Iceland's actually warm. It's Greenland that's cold.
yes, Anyway, the IMF and the World Banks came to Iceland and
country I've been
said,
there.
came to Iceland and said, hey, and this was a few years ago, said, hey, you owe us all this money. It's time to pay up. And Iceland said, screw you. Go pound sand, because it's not our debt. In fact, they went and they arrested their officials.
Really?
Yes, they arrested their
Wow.
officials that signed them onto the debt and
Where
threw
is
them
that
in
courage
jail.
these days?
Yeah, exactly. They threw them in jail. And what happened was, then Britain said, you know what? You guys won't pay our fraudulent debt. So now we're going to declare you terrorists, so you're not going to be allowed in. And they said, fine, we don't want to go to your crummy country anyway. You're nothing but a police state and surveillance cameras everywhere. Why would we want to be there? So they said, fine.
CCTV,
A year later, Iceland is the one. Iceland is one of the few countries out there that's actually got a working economy. Why? Because they told the central bankers and the frauds out there to go to hell. And that's really all it takes, because 90% of this debt that we're under is fraud.
Let's talk about the debt ceiling issue a little bit, since we've kind of
broken that topic anyway.
You've kind of ranted about what the debt issue is. Let's talk about the debt ceiling, because that's the next big topic that's coming up. That you'll
Let's
hear about.
officially
That's gonna be
allow
on the-
ourselves to bring in even more fraudulent debt. That's what this really
The
is.
debt ceiling is going to be on the television 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 2-3 weeks. I think
my
everyone's
God, the
gonna
world's
hear-
gonna come to an
yes.
end.
The sky is falling. The debt ceiling is going to fall on us.
And I hate to go back to ranting about this awful excuse for a president that we have, but I'm gonna. He's out there saying things like, "Oh, this has never happened. This is unprecedented. We've never been," and I love this term, we've never been held hostage by the other party, by those Republicans.
Tea Party
Tea Party
anarchists.
extremists,
Anarchists,
arsonists, they've been called a little bit of everything.
Racists.
We've never had this happen before, ever in the history of this country. It's unprecedented that we'd risk the full faith and credit of our government. Well, no, that's not true. We've actually done this over 50 times since the 1980s. 50 times have we had this bargaining over the debt ceiling. 53 debt limit increases, okay, is the number. 26 of those were clean, as this administration and Reid want this clean deal. So less than half of these debt increases have been clean increases. The other ones all use the debt ceiling as a check against executive power. It's the only thing we can do in some cases in a minority party to get some control over spending, to get some control over the federal government. And for this administration to get out there, Carney stands up there like Baghdad Bob. For those of you who remember Baghdad Bob, there could be bombs dropping in the background. Oh no, everything's fine. Don't look at those. It's
sort of like Japan
unbelievable.
saying "smile and the radiation won't hurt you."
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And the most unbelievable part isn't that he says it. The most unbelievable part is that nobody is calling him on it. And the few media outlets that do, and most of this stuff is being called out on newspaper editorial op-eds, things that should be easily picked up. Hey, if I can pick them up in a couple of minutes of free time, you would think that our mainstream media could pick them up. But do they? No, because that doesn't fit their narrative. It's just another example of the media being an extension.
Is there
of this
anything?
presidency.
Is there anything the media does right? Can you think of one?
I can't think of anything.
Really?
I really can't. I can't think of. No, they're.
No, I mean,
on the media.
wait. They do.
Their video production is rather good.
It's very fancy.
Yeah.
But the thing is that
They
do you
get
ever see
the weather right about 40% of the time?
most of the time?
That much?
Well, no, I wouldn't say even 50%. But the thing is that the media, I would say, do a very good job of reporting Lindsay Lohan or Britney Spears.
Yeah, the media does an excellent job of saying, "Hey, watch what the right hand's doing and pay no attention to the left hand."
Well,
and
yeah.
that's their
they
job.
redirect them. That's what they do.
And that was my point earlier when I said they're really nothing more than a mouthpiece for the White House, because they put out what the White House wants you to worry about. Okay? And
They got to put out stuff that sells.
Maybe if John
No,
Boehner
it-
and maybe
I mean,
if John
that's
Boehner
the-
and Michelle Bachmann were twerking, we'd get some media coverage.
I
don't
doubt
know what
it.
it would take.
I doubt it.
How
Because
long was she in
you
the
might-
news? Miley Cyrus is in the news for months.
I don't know.
after.
I can't
But
even.
the
I
thing
can't even
is,
watch most of the news anymore.
We don't have a society right now that actually educates people on the daily government narrative. I mean, it's all puffy, sugar plum fairies, and it's rainbows.
I don't think you were going to say
and
sugar plum fairies.
It's all
That was a good transition, though. That was
Right.
That was good. Where's the coverage? And I love this too. I don't know if you saw this week, Matt. And I should have had it ready for the show, but MSNBC on day one of their coverage of the healthcare systems coming online. This reporter for MSNBC thought she would go live and log on to the websites for healthcare, and so she goes live, and she ends up getting so frustrated because the system crashes, then she can't log on, then she gets disconnected, then she calls and she's on hold for 30 minutes. And finally, this is after 2 hours of trying to do this, they keep going back to her. She says, "Oh, I'm done. I guess this is where the average person would just give up." Well, I just love it. This is MSNBC,
Backfire.
the Obama News Network, and they're frustrated.
Well, and what do they do well? I'll tell you. And I don't know what this website is. I just pulled it up, just because I saw the report. I won't play the video. What's that?
He's talking about the video.
No,
with the
no, no.
reporter.
I'm talking about something else right now. Let me put it up there. MSNBC does this really well. The propaganda is great. They're now actually, and they've been doing this for a few months now, claiming that your kids aren't yours, that they belong to the community, and the community can do better at raising them. So I won't play the video right now because I don't have it queued up or anything, but I just wanted to put that out there. This is stuff they really do well, is straight propaganda.
So it is, and they couldn't log onto the system. And here's some other comments that come in on some other sites of people with sticker shock over Obamacare. It's unbelievable what people are putting out there. This guy writes, "The information's not very complete, as I don't see anything about deductible or other detailed info. It does give an actual price to the premium. It's very scary. Very scary is in caps. For example, my insurance plan right now for my spouse and I costs $545 a month with 100% coverage after my $2,500 deductible. We're both 32 years old. When I looked at the site for 80% coverage, it says it will be $955 a month.
Wow.
So compare my old plan, 100% coverage for $545 a month, to the new plan, 80% coverage for $945 a month. It's only an estimate, but hey, that's pretty scary. Another one, a single mother of two, said she's in school and working full-time while living 75% below the poverty level. She said she was shocked to learn that she did not qualify for a health care subsidy. Her comment, "Are you effing kidding me?" See, this is why the phone number is 1-800-FU.
Yep.
Are you effing kidding me? She wrote on the government's Obamacare Facebook page. Where the hell am I supposed to get $3,000 more a year to pay for the bronze health insurance plan? And I don't even want insurance to begin with. Those are a couple of comments, but I mean, and that's just one site that I pulled up in 2 seconds.
If
I mean,
you,
there's so many of those right now. I have a friend. I'll take it to a personal example. I had a friend Facebook me on the
quick. We can go right back
Sorry,
to that.
sorry about the sound issue, guys. That was
South
my
Carolina
screw-up.
actually passes a bill making Obamacare a crime if you implementation into it, and if you go into it, it's going to be a crime in South Carolina.
Now, this is going to be very interesting to see what happens around the country as people react to, the fact that now they get to see what's in the bill. It's going to be.
But the states have the
interesting.
rights to opt out of it if they don't want it. Am I right? And even though it's not constitutional. Am I right? Well, actually, the Supreme Court said different. But the thing is that the federal government was entitled to, or was actually implemented for protecting our own shores. So we've got this government that's massively growing in a huge rate, and the states have the rights not to take all of these programs or not all of these implementations. Am I right? I mean, they don't have to be forced into Obamacare if they choose not to.
Well, here's the way the government forces states to do things, and it's one of the things that Florida's fighting right now, and it's the federal government gives you money or withholds money.
Favors for favors, right?
In order to implement programs that they have passed, and if you don't go with the program,
you don't get the money.
But
here's the thing:
Wait a
here's
minute,
the
guys.
thing,
Wait a
though.
minute.
I mean,
the viewer
state,
here is correct. States cannot opt out. They can only opt out of Medicare exemption.
That's not what South Carolina.
That's not what
has.
South Carolina's doing right now. Their House is trying to pass
Yeah.
a bill.
Now that's
to-
called nullification.
Right. So
That's
it says,
a whole nother deal. That's the 10th Amendment, and that's the state actually standing up and telling the federal government to pound
The
sand.
state, the
and
state.
that's what
well,
we
here's
need.
the thing.
1-800-FU is what
That's
it's called.
exactly
Right,
what's
but,
going on.
But here, the article: South Carolina State House passed a bill Wednesday that declares President Obama's Patient Protection Affordable Care Act to be null and void and criminalizes its implementation.
That is nullification under the 10th Amendment, and that
Yeah.
is exactly what all 50 states need to be doing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the states also need to grow their own balls, and actually.
But that's
here,
what-
let me
that's
finish.
what
Let me
this
finish
is.
real
Can we
quick.
say that?
They need to grow some balls and say, we don't need to take your money. We don't need federal government money. And the thing is that a lot of these states are always conned into these deals because of cash.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I have to say, almost probably, maybe except for South Carolina, every state does it.
Was that Jim Roach's comment? Jim, was that yours? Jim?
What happens if you refuse to sign up, guys, is you get hit with the fine.
And it
The
grows
fine-
year after year.
Yeah, it grows year after year. The fine right now officially is $95, but the reports are that I'm reading from people that it is far higher than that in the first year.
1%. I don't have the exact number. We'll have it for the next show, but or we'll post it during the week. But there's a 1% penalty. I just don't know how that's implemented or who it affects.
Yes, you
to-
get
to
fined
talk.
by the IRS, and they're actually they actually give you the option to let them take it right out of your bank account on a weekly, monthly, or yearly basis.
I
As
say-
if
I heard
anyone,
it was yearly. I heard it was
No,
yearly.
you have a choice.
Oh, you have a choice.
You have a
choice?
choice.
You mean you get it?
Yeah.
Wait. So let me
But
ask
who
you.
in
Wait.
the-
Let me
You wanna
ask you. Let me
wanna
ask
die
you.
by hanging
Hold
or
on, hold
firing
on.
squad?
So what you're saying is I can be opt into a payment plan to pay my
But
penalty to not take health
Yeah,
care
yeah,
insurance?
yeah.
So I get on a payment plan.
You get a payment plan to pay for something that you don't want, that you don't use. You get to pay for something that doesn't exist.
Okay.
You get to pay not to use something.
All right, we have our Obamacare expert on the line, and I was right. That was Jim Roach. So I get the award for the show. We'll have to get a little trophy we can pass.
The
back
first
and
year
forth.
is
Give me five.
$95 or 1%, whatever is lower for the first year. You will never have to pay it. No,
We
there
keep
is
hearing
no
you'll never have
payment
to
plan.
pay it, though.
So
I
he
mean,
says there is no payment plan at all.
That's not what that's not what the
Stick to the
reports
facts,
are.
he says.
See, I had it
That's
right, though,
not-
Jim.
I'm reporting the facts
First
as I
year
see
is
them from
95 or
reports.
1%,
Well, you
whichever
know
is
what,
lower.
though? I have to say that Jim has a binder with him. He carries. And the thing is that he has
But
it
the
tabbed.
binder doesn't
he has
have-
it tabbed.
But
he
the binder
knows where
doesn't-
all these pages
The
are.
binder, I'm sorry, Jim. I like you. You're a great guy. We get along great. But the binder doesn't have all. What is it? 12,000 pages now of riders and amendments.
Jim, how many pages is that healthcare bill? I'm waiting for that to pop up on the screen.
There's a slight delay between.
We
what
should
they
have
hear
him
and what
call
we
in
say,
one
so-
of these days and see. Let's hear his end of the deal.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We should have him on one day. And I really do. Jim and I disagree on a lot, but Jim is a great guy.
Hey, let me while we're waiting on Jim to put that number up, let me let me throw an Obamacare fun fact in, and this one, Jim, and our other listeners. Hopefully, there's more than Jim.
Oh,
Looks
there
like
is. There's several
Looks like we
listeners
have
out there.
A good number of people starting to chatter now. Obamacare fun fact. This is from Forbes.com. Obamacare will increase the
1,200
average-
pages.
Obamacare will increase the average individual market insurance premium by 97 to 99% for young men.
Thank you, Jim.
And by 55 to 62% for young women. That's Forbes.com. Your Obamacare fun fact for the first hour of the show.
Look,
And
can I?
we're officially into hour number 2.
Hour number 2.
Right.
And
Can
hold
I
on,
say real quick?
Hold on, programming note. Guys, we are officially scheduled from 1 to 3, but every once in a while you'll find we get going and we might go into what we'll call overtime.
No, really quickly, I want to say, Jim says it's 1,200 pages, the healthcare bill. Then if it's only 1,200 pages...
No, and he says, and thousands of pages of policy.
Oh, policy. And did you even mention the regulations, too? Anyway,
That's
I'm sure
policy.
that's probably high
That's
as a
policy.
mountain. Yeah.
Yes, I am going to refuse to sign up, yes. I will not give my consent to an unconstitutional law.
Well, the Supreme
I
Court
looked at-
says different.
The Supreme Court also upheld the Fugitive Slave Act, so give me a break.
I looked at what it would cost me to sign up, and it's certainly not affordable care. for me.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
I guess I'm paying the fine.
Okay, sorry for cutting you off there, buddy. What did you-
I was just going to say that if it's 1,200 pages long, and when they were trying to push this through the nuclear option back in 2008, I don't understand why they had, I think every table and every desk in the Senate and the House had this huge pile that was probably about 20 pounds, and it surely looked more than 1,200 pages. But then again, too,
that's-
Jim was just saying that there were thousands more for pages
Right,
of policy,
right.
not to mention the regulations that are passed thousands and thousands daily. I'm sure even related to Obamacare. Or the Affordable Care Act, they want to call it.
Let me, anyone who has the time or interest, and hopefully if you're listening to this show, you have the interest to do this.
Time is a whole other issue,
Time
and we
is-
understand
yeah,
that.
I know you're probably working 3 jobs to cover your
Yeah, you
All
got
part-time jobs.
You got to go get 2 part-time jobs just
no,
to cover
maybe
your
3.
healthcare costs.
but anyone who does
No sleep.
Go look up Senator Jeff Sessions' speech on the floor of the Senate on the night before the deadline, which would be September 30th. Look up his speech, and one of the things, he has a couple of charts that are pretty cool, and they show just how unsustainable the debt is that Obamacare causes into the future. It rivals our other entitlement programs. But the comment that struck me and really hit home that Sessions had said, and I think he's a great senator and he does a great job, and we should be sending him some emails of support for everything he's trying to do up there, in addition to Ted Cruz and those guys. But Sessions says Democrats are worried about what happens if the government over the next few days shuts down, but they don't seem to care what happens to our children and grandchildren when they're saddled with the unsustainable debt of Obamacare. And I think that really sums it up. There's your difference between today's party Democrats that are in control in Washington and people like Sessions, Lee, Cruz, Rubio, some of the other people up in Washington who are genuinely looking out towards the future. These are people that were in business or people that realize that you don't do things looking at tomorrow.
Honestly,
You
I
do
gotta
things
say
looking
really quickly
at the
about what Chris
future.
is saying is that I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think the people that are Democrats that believe in what they believe in and run for politics are doing it for not always selfish reasons, but there are a lot of people
No,
out there doing it for their
there-
own
there
purpose.
are-
But
there
the thing
are a
is,
lot of
they're good in they have
good
good
intention,
intentions,
yeah.
and they go in there and they want to make a difference. But the thing is that this is not a blue collar Democrat society anymore.
Well,
it's
it
far
goes to-
less socialist.
It goes to
society.
a philosophical difference in government is what it goes to, really. It's today, solving today, taking care of problems that don't maybe exist yet, and not looking at the future, not paying attention to where this is going. the debt that's going to come up. And Sessions looked.
No,
this
I think
chart
what
that
I think-
Sessions put up covered 35 years, so he's not looking at 10 years down the road.
I think what they're
He's
looking at,
grandchildren
they're looking at the
issues.
fact that a lot of kids are sick or families are sick, and they're the party of the heart. You know, they're the party that really feels for the people.
Yeah,
and they
right,
say
right.
that the
Republicans are the
Republicans
heartless
only
party,
care
right?
about their wallet.
You know,
That's
that-
all they say. And that's where we kind of, they always say they're there for the people, and they try to take all the demographics. They try to take, you know,
But
every
I think-
race, creed. They try to take the woman they can get, every woman voter, and they say we want to just do away with the white man, but we care about all the other demographics out
but
there
I think
because
Sessions-
they care about all those different issues. But the thing is that
Sessions'
they're-
point and my point too is that to look at today somebody and say, oh, we're the party that cares because we're taking care of people today. But if you're ignoring your children and grandchildren's future, are you really taking care of anybody?
To make
You're
that
really
argument-
being irresponsible.
to make that argument
as a
too-
party and as an official.
To make that argument too, there was that kid that I can't remember if he had cancer and he had some kind of leukemia, and I think the press just pushed on him, Harry Reid, about, you know, are you going to let this kid die? And then he was really upset about that question.
Well, it was a mythical. There was no actual kid. It was an example.
It was
There
one
no-
example,
There was no
okay.
actual kid that
So-
was going to die.
But basically, they kind of threw it at him and said, you know, are you going to be a person full of heart and soul and care for individuals who may be dying, or are you just going to look at the overall problem with this healthcare thing? Am I right? I don't know where they were getting.
What he was talking, what they were talking about was the House had passed legislation that would reopen the National Institute of Health and some other government functions, and Reid killed it. He tabled it in the Senate. And so the comment was in regards to him tabling these amendments rather than moving them forward and advancing them by saying, so if we're not going to open up the whole government, you're willing to let this, you know, if we could save one kid, wouldn't it be worth it? And of course, Reid's comment was, why would I do that? I mean, why would I
Do you think
do
that was the right decision?
No, of course not. I don't think
Okay.
anything Reid's done in the last 20 years has been the right decision, but certainly not that. You know, that's part of this whole
Here's your
revisionist history.
reputation.
Well,
Wait.
That's part of this whole revisionist history. He gets up there and says, "We've never done it this way. We've always passed these bills to fund the government in a whole." That's not
And the
true.
truth, and the
That's not
truth is,
true.
it's always been done
Always been done
piecemeal.
piecemeal.
Can I ask you though, and both of you, as far as that argument goes, as far as Republicans only caring about the wallet and not caring about the people?
That's not an argument. That's crap.
I know that is crap, but I'm just saying that's the things that are said out there.
That's the talking point.
That is the talking points. And the thing is that what, you know, I mean, obviously there are a lot of people out there that are Democrats that may be listening and want to know what does the
Probably not after this show.
but what does the Republican Party offer them? What is it? What's the message that the Republican Party can deliver to people that are sick, that are maybe dying of cancer or maybe some other disease?
Well, other than a slight backbone that I've seen in the past few days that I have yet to see will hold up, I think the real message that the Republicans send at this point is, yeah, come see us because we'll cave and be just like the Democrats.
Okay, so that's the message that we're sending.
Well,
That is the message that I see.
I don't know that that's really the message of the Republican Party.
That's
That
not
may
what they
be-
want to put out, but that's what the public sees. At least that's what I see.
What do you see, Chris?
I see a huge difference in philosophy of government.
In rhetoric, I'll give you that.
I don't. I
Come on.
won't say that we've been particularly good at this since Reagan, but there are some that can articulate our message, but none as clearly in recent times as he has.
You don't think
There-
that
there's
Ted
a
Cruz
difference.
hasn't articulated that message well?
I think Ted Cruz is just coming into his own. He's just starting to get heard, just starting to get listened to. So he's just starting to get that voice, and he has to be careful to make his message one of a bigger picture. Right now, we're fighting against a unsustainable healthcare system that's been pushed by the Democrats.
Okay.
But he needs to take it beyond that if he wants to be considered the next
Well,
Reagan,
you know,
the next
step,
visionary. He has to take it beyond that, and
stepping off of
present
this
a vision
issue
for
real
the
quick.
country.
I want to
Well, wait a
say,
minute.
can I say real quick? The thing is that what can the Republican Party offer independents and Democrats to pull them away? Because sometimes people switch. Sometimes people will switch from a Democrat to an independent and maybe even a Republican.
And I will say,
so what is the message from the Republican Party to offer those independents? How can they be more caring? How can they be?
You're not going to. Whatever the message is not going to be listened to at this point. And just like the viewer said there, the average Democrat, Republican, Liberal, they're all
That's
good
Jim.
people. It probably is Jim. I haven't been paying attention to the screen names.
But
anyway,
and
they
he's right,
are
the system is broken.
The system is broken, and the Republicans will not be able to successfully get a message out there as long as they have the current leadership in place, because the current leadership has absolutely no credibility.
If you say that, Matt, here's the thing. If you say that, then they're going to call you a Tea Party anarchist. They're going to call you a Tea Party terrorist.
They call me terrorist. They call me all kinds of names, and that's fine.
They're going to call the GOP leadership and get their heads out of their butt. And what basically they're going to say is, come down to your common senses and join us, meaning the establishment.
And you know what I will say? I will say right here, the Constitution
They
is
don't
my
look at
common
that
sense.
Look how big that Constitution is.
And I loved it. Who was it? Who was it? I can't remember. I was watching C-SPAN. Yes, I watch C-SPAN. I'm a very boring individual. But I was watching C-SPAN, and one of the Democrats said, here, I'll loan you a copy of my Constitution. I couldn't help but thinking, instead of loaning it out, why don't you read the damn thing?
Well, it certainly hasn't been used.
Yeah, it probably looks brand new. Like this one is brand new because I just pulled it out of the stack.
I'm sure you expected me to disagree with you as a good conservative Republican on the issue of both parties being at fault, and Boehner's.
Oh no,
and McConnell, but that's absolutely that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. Until we have leaders that can articulate the vision of the party as it's meant to be,
it's going to get smaller and
problems.
smaller.
That's right, and
smaller.
the Republican Party is going to BS its way right into non-existence.
I'm going to say real quick,
I
two things I want to say. There's two things I want to say. One is basically, I'm getting reached all the time by people in the party and people that are libertarians and independents, and I get a lot of the same messages over and over again. I can't take it anymore. I got to leave the party. I got to go libertarian. And a lot of young people are saying that. And the thing is that I try to reach out to a lot of the elites, a lot of the GOP, and tell them, hey, listen, this is what young people are saying. People are leaving the party because they're tired that they're not growing a backbone, they're not growing any balls and standing up on their principle. And I think the thing is that a lot of people are getting fed up.
He might have said cajones.
But and here's a good example of that. Remember back in the beginning when we first got Congress, we had Congress, 2010? We won the House. And I remember John Boehner when he first, became Speaker, and he said, what we're going to do is every time we pass a bill, we're going to write down on that bill why, or whoever sponsors that bill or co-sponsors that bill, why is it constitutional? Why is this bill constitutional? And then we're going to pass it in the House.
Agree with
you know
that.
what?
And
that has not happened after the fact. And the thing is people, all they hear is crap. Crap coming out from the Senate and crap coming out of the House. And people are leaving the party.
It hasn't much mattered what the House has passed because the Senate hasn't taken it up for the most part.
But no, you're not addressing the issue. What I was just saying. The issue is that they have to, when they pass a bill or they're sponsoring a bill, they have to write a reason why it's constitutional. And also, I remember that he said too, you had to sit next to a Democrat. Am I right?
No, I don't know about that.
Each person had to sit next to an opposite party, an opposite member of the House. But anyway, he tried to.
I would want to sit next to Sheila Jackson Lee or Debbie Wasserman Schultz because man, that would be a great conversation.
But I'm saying, how do we work together if both sides are just on sound bites and there's no substance to it? So a lot of people are just getting fed up. They're becoming independents or they're leaving. How are we supposed to bring them back into the party?
We're supposed to bring them back in the party by articulating a clear message of
not happening.
Stand for. Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. But you asked whether it's happening or how we do it. Those are two different questions.
How do we make it happen? How do we make our elected officials accountable?
Well,
by taking
honestly,
action, getting off the couch and doing something.
Exactly, and again, it's more than just voting. We've gotten to this mode where all we can do is vote. Get off the couch.
Turn off the
you
TV.
if you've got all this time, and you know what, I like to watch sports once in a while too, so I'm not bashing sports, but if you're one of those people that can quote sports statistics from 20 years ago without even thinking about
Go
it,
Giants.
can you not just take 1 hour a week and get informed and tell people what you know at that point? That's what this show's all about. We're trying to go the extra mile and inform people. So, I'm not even saying start your own show. I'm saying take the information that you do have and
Replay
talk to
ours.
people at
I
work.
got to agree with this last comment down here. It's hard to get someone to switch to your party when you're bashing the party they are in. Why not focus on what the party or the party elected officials are doing for them and our country? And that person's absolutely right. Because the
That's
thing
Jim,
is,
yeah. And
I'm going to say real quick that a lot of people, all they do is complain, and all they do is throw out crap out there. And the thing is, they need to call their elected officials if they think they're doing a good job and tell them they're doing a good job. I know that right now I may have not articulated that well, but the thing is that we have to focus on pulling a lot of these young people who are independents and libertarians back into the fold. Otherwise, things are just going to keep getting worse.
You know, I had a good friend and a political mentor that had a comment when talking about negative. He said, people complain and water is wet, and those are just two facts of life, and that's true.
That's a good point.
And we do have to move beyond it, and we do have to do it by being a party that says what we're for, that can articulate a message, as I've said several times just now. We have to be for something. It doesn't mean that we have to say, oh, well, our plan for health care is X, Y, Z, and we're going to do things this way. We have to articulate a vision for the country. It starts with that. Nobody cares about your XYZ plan if you can't articulate what you really stand for, big picture level.
And more to the point of not bashing the Democrats. Hey, listen, I admit I'll bash the Democrats once in a while, but I'm kind of an equal opportunity basher. I mean, you guys know I'll bash the Republicans sometimes, most of the time, even harder, because they claim to stand for the Constitution. They claim to stand for law and order, the way this country was founded and supposed to be, but yet they always back down. So,
I think this goes back to the point where that person said the system is broken. It's broken on both sides.
Exactly.
Oh,
It is
of course
broken on
it
both
is.
sides.
Of
And
course
when
it
it comes down to it, yet again, it's not the rank and file Republicans. It's not the rank and file Democrats. It is the leadership on both sides. And more, when you look at the leadership, there is really only one party up there. There's different rhetoric, but the leadership always does the same thing.
Well,
they put on a good dog and pony show, but they work together on issues that are contrary to Americans'
what it is
founding.
a lack of leadership in leadership, and it's such a bad term to use up there, because there isn't any leadership. If there weren't any leadership right now, we wouldn't be at a stalemate with Obama sitting in the White House doing nothing to solve the shutdown, actually adding to the problems, and we wouldn't have the other side of the aisle reciting the same things over and over again. We'd have some compromise. We'd have somebody doing something to get all the parties to sit down together and solve it. We have a divided government. Our founders devised a government so that this kind of thing would actually happen, so that one party, one group wouldn't take control of the country. There would be compromise. There would be divide.
Yeah.
What about the argument?
And we're seeing none of it right now. And this is the first time in history, really, that we're seeing.
And
seeing
to go a step further,
stubbornness.
most of the founders actually didn't even believe in parties, because they knew that they could ultimately be controlled by leadership within those parties, and that people tend to just kind of rank and file follow the party because they simply don't have time to know everything about every issue. And therefore, the idea from George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine was no parties really. It's everybody working, by yourself basically, but yet working together and coming together, and everybody coming in with their own ideas, not party lines. A little less organization outside of the government itself to run the government, because that way there's not so much conspiracy, for lack of a better.
Can I
term.
mention real quick about the fact that people have no faith in government? Because like I had mentioned a few other people.
And that's a good thing. You're not
Why would
supposed
you?
to.
The
Yeah,
thing
why
is,
would
the
you?
thing is like what happened with the whole insider trading deal that was going on with all the House and the Senate, and that they could do insider trading and no other U.S. citizen was allowed to, and then they made it illegal, and the House passed a bill and the Senate passed it, and it was signed by the president, and then under the dead of night they signed it right back into law, and neither the Republicans or the Democrats ever spoke out against it. And the thing is that now they're saying that Obamacare will be implemented with either not the people in the D.C., but everybody else has to follow the law. And now they want to make it where everyone, even in D.C., has to follow the Obamacare law. And the thing is that how do we know that they're going to keep their word even if that passes? Because look what they did with the insider trading issue. So the thing is,
Well, I
is that
think
how
the
can
sure
you
bet
trust
is that they won't keep their word because
Right.
they never do. It's
They-
nothing but we're run by a bunch of kleptocrats up there.
Right.
It's all about what they can get for them and how they can better the special interests. And the special interests run this country. I don't care what you say.
Well, I have another friend that down here who calls it the Republicratic Party.
Oh, that's it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's it. Or I saw a book, and I don't remember who wrote it. I just saw it in the bookstore a couple weeks ago. It was called the Republic Bloods and the Democrats, or Crips, Democrips.
Can you
And that's
throw
really,
a-
they're gangs is what they are.
Hey, Matt, do you mind throwing this up on the screen real quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
This is, we were talking about how people don't have faith in the media either. MSNBC has hit record quarter low, and the biggest number here in 20 years. So, I mean, obviously people are just not tuning into the media anymore.
No, the media is dying because people are starting to understand that the media is really nothing more, like I said, than a mouthpiece for it's state-run media, just like happened in Nazi Germany, just like happened in Stalinist Russia. There is no accountability with the media. They're going to put out exactly what they're told to put out and nothing else. Because honestly, I mean, MSNBC and CBS and
CNBC.
NBC and CNN. I mean, they got a big share of the banker bailouts. They're running on a lot of public
Have
money.
you noticed, too, that a lot of the reporters are leaving the reporting industry and the media here going into the Obama administration?
Yeah, it's
too.
like Ben Swann. He basically got run out because he was talking about things they didn't want him to talk about.
Right.
And so he had to go start his own website, and he's
But
working
I'm just
on his
saying
own show.
there's a list, there's a huge list, and I don't know where I read this article, but there's a big list of people that actually want to get into the Obama administration that are actually working for MSNBC, CNBC, ABC, CBS,
Yeah.
all the rest of them, and Washington Post and the New York Times. But the thing is that a lot of these people who are working for these news organizations think, oh gosh, and now I have an opt-in into the White House and the Obama administration. The thing is that not everyone obviously is waking up to this. I mean, well, maybe the ratings are going lower and lower, but the thing is that are they going to?
Well, you've always got a nation of sheep, for lack of a better way to say it. As you and I have talked several times, like 3% of the people in America before it was America were the ones that actually started the Revolutionary War, and it was
Right.
20% that actually won the revolution. There's not a majority here. The majority of people will go along with the loudest voice. Right now, that loudest voice is
Ted Cruz
Well, yeah.
in the federal government. Yeah.
Right now, the loudest voice is for the most part it's the liberal side of the government.
Media,
and that's why
liberal
that's
media.
why so many people they've got the media, and that's why so many people are going
I'm
with
going to
that.
give you a different take on the media. You've seen, as you point out, Rick, MSNBC, CNBC losing viewership. CNN's down. Matt, you've mentioned Fox News is down. Ask you guys a question. Do you think that people just no longer are getting news? Do you think they've given up on getting news from anywhere?
No, no. The
exactly.
ratings, the ratings are showing they're getting it from alternative news
That's
sources
exactly
like
right.
Paul
Right.
Revere.
That's exactly right. So I look at this as a good thing.
Oh, it is. It's a wonderful thing.
Because people are starting to find alternative ways to get news that may actually report news, may actually fact check before they put a story out.
like
may
the Drudge
actually-
Report and
Yeah.
Breitbart.
well, there's Drudge.
Drudge is the big monstrosity that is running. Drudge Report is the big engine that is running the alternative movement. It's the one that no one can. That's why it's constantly being attacked in the media, Even though the media just fawns over trying to get a link on Drudge, because if you get a link on Drudge, you are made.
I got to throw this out here. I know we're going to be off topic kind of for a second, but just scrolling through Facebook as we're looking at comments, and this story just popped up. Just before the weekend, the National Park Service informed charter boat captains in Florida, right here in Florida, that Florida Bay was closed due to the shutdown. Florida Bay, until government funding is restored, fishing boats are prohibited from taking anglers into 1,100 square miles of open ocean.
Because the water takes so much federal money to run.
The Park Service will also have rangers on duty to police the ban of access to an ocean.
Because it saves us money to have a lot of people out there making overtime.
We're spending money.
But you got to understand,
to shut down the government.
You got to. That's kind of my point. We've kind of evolved into an Orwellian mindset.
So now we're going to shut down the ocean.
Yeah,
The ocean's
basically.
closed.
The ocean it cannot flow. The ocean needs to stand still.
It's an Orwellian
waves.
mindset. Okay,
Yes.
it saves you money to spend money. It costs money to save money. Just like and it goes back a ways. The Department of War became the Department of Defense, just like the Department of Peace was the Department of War in 1984. Why? Oh, look at this. When it was called the Department of War, we had almost no wars. When it became the Department of Defense, all we do is war.
Right.
All we do is war.
Hey, speaking of regulation and that we're shutting down the ocean, you might want to throw this up on the screen. This is the Cape Coral City Council approves sign ordinance amid business owner concerns.
Wait a minute. I just got to say that's one of the strangest transitions we've had in.
Well,
the
this is
show.
a local. This is a local. This is
Speaking
wait.
of shut down the
Let me say
ocean,
real quick.
Let's go to the sign ordinance.
Yeah, let's get to the sign ordinance, because here's the thing:
You're
where
gonna- hey.
local government can also be a problem too.
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
gonna make hundreds. Oh, I don't know about hundreds, but maybe hundreds of people unemployed because they see these signs on the streets as a problem and an eyesore for the city. And so basically, the people that are handicapped, that can't really work, but they can hold up a sign, or the people that are struggling, that need to have signs on their sidewalks or maybe in their front window, are not allowed to anymore because the city says so. And so this really basically gives the impression of not business friendly. The city here in Cape Coral, in my opinion, is not business friendly at all. Just because they have to pass one ordinance after another ordinance to make the city just look horrible, I think, in my point of view.
Well, and it comes back to a mindset, and I see this mindset. I'm not going to mention
Government
any
knows
names.
more.
Government knows more.
Oh, mention the names.
All the city council members up there, they think they know more than the average citizen or the person that actually has to bring in a paycheck.
If
They
you
have to
were
feed their kids.
if you were at the Young Republicans,
You know what? Wait a minute.
forum.
Wait a minute. Let's. Jim just posted this, and he's absolutely right. Cape Coral's new tax on electric bills will take $22 million per year out of the Cape Coral economy.
Yep.
Yep, you
That's
got it.
exactly
You
right.
Got it.
Wow.
And to that point, if you look back in history, it's very clear. When you lower taxes, you get in more tax receipts because there's more economic growth. When you raise taxes, you bring in less revenue to the government because it halts the economy.
Government doesn't think that way, Matt.
But he pulled his mic.
I just got tired of hunching over the counter. It's easier this way.
Let me show him how a screw works here.
You didn't tell me it was adjustable.
It's got a
I
neck.
thought it was
I can still
self-explanatory.
sit back this way. It'd be like Elvis with the mic stand. I can't.
So, what do you think about Rena Ernbrick's comments on the dais there in Cape Coral? Basically, what she said is that she's a consumer and she walks down the street and she sees a sign in the window that she can't see into the window. She's never going to walk into that business to buy any product. And I would say, in my opinion, that's her opinion, and that's not the opinion of the people in Cape Coral.
Signs never stop me from
No,
buying
they make me wanna go
anything.
in.
Yeah, they make me want to go in. And aside from that, I haven't looked into this too much, but I have to wonder, what are the First Amendment ramifications of this?
Oh, exactly.
If we're not allowed to stand on the street corner with signs, that's a constitutional issue.
Well,
And I have to wonder if, I'm going to look into it. I have to wonder if it's not a good idea for me to get a bunch of people together and go wave some signs and maybe even bullhorn about this a little bit.
Going to wave signs supporting the sign waivers?
No, that's well. This doesn't
Supporting
take
the
effect
First
until
Amendment.
this does
I
not
think,
take this does not take effect for another 6 months. So just
I
keep
know
that in
that.
mind. These people actually are waiting for their unemployment check.
Yeah.
First of all, I think your comment by the council member that commented about
Raina?
what they look
Yes.
at as a consumer. Well, that's fine as a consumer. That's
Yeah,
your
that's
choice.
her opinion.
But that does you should not be legislating
Right.
based on how you shop. That's not good government.
No.
And to legislate that way, here's the scary.
Well,
thing.
let me say-
here's the scary thing, Rick. Way too many of our politicians start off at the city council or school board levels,
And they wanna work up the ladder.
and they work up the ladder. And if you don't call them into account, if you don't make them accountable at this level,
They'll get much
you
worse.
lose it at the end. And it's more important than ever for people who are activists, people who are going to listen to our show, people who we're trying to
And I hope
implore to
those people
do
go out
something
and protest
to
and
talk,
wave
because
signs.
it's not, because voting isn't the answer right now. You went and voted, I went and voted, you went and voted, but only 7.92% of the people in the city
It's
of Cape Coral went and
activism.
voted.
It's getting
And
out there
now
and
they're
making your voice
complaining.
heard.
Now you get these people up there on the dais that vote for these ordinances that actually hurt businesses.
Now-
And here's the thing. They always have to stick their noses where it doesn't belong. And the thing is that the city needs to really take a check on themselves and learn where government needs to be and not be. And a lot of times they claim that they're Republican. If they claim to be Republican, they'd stick their noses out of this business. This has nothing to do with government. They need to stay out of this and maybe focus on roads. Focus on, power lines. Focus on property taxes.
How about focusing on making it easier for businesses to come into the
Yes,
city
exactly.
and open and get through permitting, which is a maze of a nightmare in Cape Coral that is beyond any other city.
Why is it
in this
overregulated?
or
Hold on
state.
a second, guys, because I want to take us back just a little bit there, because we were talking about, your vote isn't what's going to break this right now. Okay. But this takes me back to activism. That's what's going to break this. If you get out there and you do something, you make your voice heard, you get a following. And
Right.
the more people know your name, well, then guess what? When you actually go into city council and you speak, what you say, because the city council then knows that your words sway the opinion of so many other people, what you say will carry much more weight than Joe Schmo coming up in there.
And let me say let me say real quick, you're right about that, Matt, because I don't know if any people out there really know that I'm president of the Southwest Florida Young Republicans, and when I first started the group, I thought, what was the best way to influence this group and make it bigger? And the best thing that I thought about doing was having candidate forums. And we had quite a few of them last year, and we had one this year. And I think most people realize that, if you take part and you ask questions and you make those people who are running for office accountable and answer the questions and force them to answer the questions instead of letting them have the runaround, because I had noticed it in other forums, not some of them I've seen, that they don't make them answer the questions. And the thing is that I've noticed that more people start to come and take an interest in what we're doing with the young Republicans, and also what we can do here with Paul Revere is that the fact that we can make people aware of what's going on. And the thing is that I think I could see a lot more people taking part and getting involved if they just knew what was going on, because a lot of them don't know. They don't know when the council meetings are. They don't know what day of the week it is, and they don't know what time. Usually it's in the afternoon, and many people are working. So,
Well, let me take part of what you said in a different direction. You talked about getting up and speaking in front of council and having had some activism before you do that, so that you
Right.
your voice is heard. I'm going to take it a step further, and it's a comment that I heard from a state legislator a couple of years ago, and it's the game being watched is not the game being played. And
That's exactly right.
So here's the thing. So many things you can resolve before it ever gets to that dais, before it ever gets to council, if you can head it off in their offices, in one-on-one conversations. Get to know these people. Get to know them personally outside of dais versus you sitting down here.
We've got to teach them how to use a microphone,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, because I've never used one before. So it's part of the Italian thing. Yeah.
But what you're saying is get to know your council member, get to know them as people, and then at the same time, so you can make an influence.
You have the chance to talk to them before it gets to that dais. You have a chance to get your input before before
something is voted on.
Stupid
Right.
law comes forward that now it's in the public. Now it's almost too late for some of them because they've already made comments.
Well,
to the media and they've already
let me
staked out a
let me
position.
say real quickly that I called. I did mention Raina, and I think she's a great person. I think she's a very kind individual. I mean, I've gotten to know her for quite a while, for at least a year. But I'm only talking about her job performance and what I saw the other night when she was saying that because she sees something in a window, she's not going to go visit that business. And I really think that, like I said before, I think that government should stay out of businesses altogether, and they should just really kind of let them grow on their own and give them incentives to grow and take government out of it. But the thing is by doing saying what she said, really kind of gives that impression that, hey, we want no business here. We don't want no growth in this city. And that's what I got out of it.
Well, look, first of all, anybody who would tell you from that dais that this city is business friendly is just either out of touch or campaigning, because we're not. We're not business friendly. We need to really work on that. We need to be honest about it and find solutions. See, part of the problem is denial. Part of the problem is denial of the problem. It's like a 12-step program. You have to know you have a problem. You have to admit there's a problem so you can solve it. We need to fix the problem.
And Jim figured out how to log in. Congratulations.
That's great.
Hey, we knew it. I knew you as 377542, Jim.
And yeah, guys, the website is an easy way to view, but if you want to actually log in, you can go check out Paul Revere Radio Live on Ustream. That's
Which
our
tab
channel.
do they click on to register their name on the screen?
You got to log in. You got to go make an account with Ustream.
Oh, got it.
Okay, and you log in through Ustream, and that's how you can make an account.
It is easier than making an account for Obamacare, though. Sorry, Jim.
Now back to the topic at hand. We do have, I know for a fact, viewers watching right now from around the country, so I want to take this and extrapolate it out. And getting back to the activism point. Okay, and you know this, I know this, we've experienced it personally, and I'm sure you have too, Chris. That when you are active and when you actually do things in the community and sway public opinion, then all of a sudden, not only do you get a bigger voice when you go talk in front of city council, but before you know it, you have the phone numbers, the personal phone numbers of the elected officials, and you can talk to them anytime you want. And
That could be the Young Republican app.
Well, that's for the offices. Yeah, if you're in Southwest Florida, you can download the Young Republicans app that I made, and you've got all their phone numbers right there. But that's for their offices. But I'm talking about, when you get to a certain point in activism, then they want to talk to you personally because they know you sway so much opinion.
Especially if you have a microphone.
Yeah, especially if you have a microphone. Yes. So and quite honestly, if anybody wants to learn how to do this, I mean, it's not even that expensive. I can teach you how to do this if you wanted to go the route we're going. But what my vision for this is to spur people to do things, to get out there, because you need to make your voice heard. You need to sway public opinion. And I know if you're watching this show, you can't be an idiot. Because idiots can't stand to watch this show because it makes them feel like an idiot.
You'd be watching MSNBC right now.
Yeah.
But I have to emphasize that one voice does matter. I mean, look what we're doing today. Look what we've done with the Young Republicans. And the thing is that and the connections that you make when you get active. I mean, Drew Steele is a big fan of ours.
Yep.
Also, Trey Radel knows who we are. He
Yep.
takes our advice and he takes our word very seriously. So I think that if people realize that if you just get a little bit involved, you can make a huge difference with not just your elected officials, but you can make a huge difference in the community.
And it starts in your city. It's everybody thinks that talking to the mayor or talking to the council is such a big deal. Guys, they're people just like you.
They're not gods.
No, they're
It's-
people
it's
just
one
like
of the,
you.
It's one of the few levels of government where you're going to be able to run into your mayor or your council member in the grocery store.
Yep.
Or at the local Columbus Day festival.
I gotta make this little story real quickly. I at my work we had the mayor come visit, and this was probably about almost a year ago, and I remember everyone at my work were like, "Oh my gosh!" Before he even arrived, we had to set up the flowers the right way, and then he walked through the
And
room
roll out the red
and
carpet.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh! Can you believe he looked at me? He spoke to me. He looked me dead in the eye," and I didn't really know what to say, but it was great. And I said, the problem with America is that we put these elected officials on this precipice. We put them way up high, and we treat them like gods. And the thing is that until we change that, and until we stop looking at like a congressman who walks down the street with a photographer taking pictures of his every move and going, "Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. I saw the congressman today." Walk up to him and say,
They
"You're
become
doing
celebrities.
Yeah, and you say, "You're doing a good job," or "I couldn't really stand that vote that you just took, and let me explain to you why." Instead of just like, "Oh my gosh, they're on television. I was on television with," it's ridiculous to me.
And there's nothing wrong you have to be respectful, respect the office.
Obviously.
But there's nothing wrong with being aggressive either. There's nothing wrong
No,
with saying,
you don't
hey,
have to agree with everybody.
There's nothing wrong with being honest.
Yes.
Be honest.
Honesty in politics?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's an oxymoron.
Most of our listeners.
That's a war
most of our
waiting to
viewers and
happen.
Listeners aren't elected officials, so there is some honesty here. I want to touch on a couple of things while we have about 20 minutes left in the actual
Regular show.
Two stories. The first goes back, and I'll be brief on this one. Goes back to the shutdown, and I want to give some props. Do they still use those terms, or am I showing my age?
I don't know, honestly.
Anyway,
Props?
It's Governor.
Did he just say
Wisconsin-
props?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
Do they still use?
No, I think
Am
you just showed
am
your
I-
age.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, go
I
ahead.
thought maybe I
I'm
did.
sorry to cut you off.
All right. So, as a young Republican, you should know the right term.
I'm very young.
Well, you got to give us the term.
You're older than me.
I'm under 40.
Go
I
ahead,
guess
Chris.
I'm
Sorry.
not.
Continue.
So, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who I think would make an excellent presidential candidate. And let me just say that I think our best chance of winning as a Republican Party in 2016
My home state, by the way.
is not someone who is in the Senate, but we've traditionally won as a party when we've had governors, conservative governors running for office. So
There you go, Chris.
the issue is Scott Walker, governor of Wisconsin, Rick's state.
My state. Cheese state.
You don't have your cheese hat on.
No, I'll bring it next time.
Anyway, he has ordered. He's ignored Washington's order to close parks, and I think it's a great move on his part. A great move for
Absolutely.
his state, federal
Once
government.
again,
and here's the
nullification.
deal. Here's the deal. State officials in Wisconsin provide more than half of the park's funding, so they decided that we're going to keep with state money.
Hey, if they got to
the
put
parks
money
open.
into it,
And the federal government allotted Wisconsin $701,000 for state parks in 2013. The states opted to disobey Fish and Wildlife order forbidding hunting and fishing on federal lands. The state officials said hunting can continue, parks can continue to be open. Walker instructed his cabinet streamline things and make sure things are available. And I think that's streamline things is something that we need to be looking way more at as a federal government, way more at state level, city level, county level. Streamline government. That's I think the catchphrase of the day. But I want to give some credit to Scott Walker for a great decision.
You know, when
to
I
do what's right for his state and his citizens.
when I
His-
left Wisconsin, that was about 6 years ago, and I remember the legislature and the Senate, if I remember correctly, it was very run by Democrats, and it was overwhelmingly Democrat supported. And I remember every governor we ever had was a Democrat. And when I left, I was like, this state really is just a big, giant blue state, just like Minnesota. And I said, I need to go to an area where it's more prominently red. And the thing is that I'm completely shocked since I've been gone how things have changed around. And, with his whole re-election and the recount that happened with Scott Walker, and now how he's standing against the federal government and keeping these parks open. And because the state itself puts money into the federal the parks themselves, so what?
That's all right, Jim. Go ahead and put a plug in there. That's
I'm actually
fine.
going to put that plug in here on air because Anthony's on the Boulevard here in Cape Coral and Del Prado is doing a fundraiser for an Iraq memorial to be constructed at Eco Park. They're doing a pig roast over at their place today.
The cost is $10. By the way.
$10. It's a great cause.
And what time?
I've been to their pig roast before.
What time does
there.
that start?
It's going on now. It goes till
Midnight.
like 11 o'clock
No, it
tonight.
says right here, midnight.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
till midnight. Hey guys,
it's
I'm
a-
gonna go. I didn't know about this. I'm gonna say, if you guys can, after the broadcast day, why don't we head down there?
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great. I've been to their pig roast for other charities before. It's some great pig too. It's not just a great cause, but it's some great food. So,
And that's right-
So
that's
get out
right on,
there and support it.
It started
Starts
at
at
noon.
noon.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, it's a great cause, and like I said, I didn't know about it. But if you don't know where Anthony's is, it's right on Del Prado Boulevard.
Del Prado, just a little bit south of Vizcaya, so it's a
In the
you
Walmart
won't, you won't be
area.
able to miss it. It's the place with a pig on a spit out in front.
Rotisserie.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I'm going to say one more thing on the topic we were on, and then we're going to kind of switch gears. I want to get into some gun control, but I do want to say this. We were talking about city, state, and federal government, and the reason that your city is so important is it is the most powerful government
In your life.
In your life. It really is. The federal government, the way it's supposed to run, you're not supposed to feel that at all.
You really aren't even supposed to know exists.
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
most
pretty
part.
much. Then your state's a little stronger, and your city government is the strongest, and that's the way it's supposed to be, because when they screw up and they do something stupid, you can actually walk right up into the mayor's office, walk right up into your councilman's office and say, hey, this is why that you're wrong, and you need to change this.
Well, I mean, and there's no other branch of government that affects you more in your life. I mean,
Exactly.
You want your trash picked up? That's the city government. You want your roads without potholes? City
Well,
government.
not
You-
to
you wanna-
mention too, not
you
to
wanna-
mention your county commission too.
That's right. And
Well, it depends
between
on
your-
if you're unincorporated or incorporated, but yeah, absolutely. Your local government affects you more.
If
than
you
anything else.
wanna-
School board affects you even more.
No
'cause
problem, Jim.
They have the biggest budget
Budget.
in the entire county. More than your county, more than your city, the school
Over
board.
$1 billion,
So
I know
you
that.
got to pay attention to these elections for the people that are out there. Don't just look at Congress. Don't just go vote in the presidential and Senate elections. Pay attention to what goes on in these other elections, because it's really what affects you.
Exactly. Also, if you want to change the federal government, you have to start local. Because what happens is you start in your city, that bleeds over into the county. Now you're changing the county. Then it goes to the state, and the state has the authority, like I've said earlier in the show, the state has the authority to nullify the federal government. The federal government is a creature of the state, and the state has more power within the state borders than the federal government. In fact, your county sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement in the county. He's the only constitutional law enforcement officer. Well, his employees, the deputies, are also constitutional.
We'll have to try to get him on the show. We'll try to
Yes,
get Mike Scott.
yeah, we'll
Absolutely.
get Mike
to
Scott.
call in.
He's a good guy. He'll come on with us. But your county sheriff actually has the authority to stand on the county line and tell the feds to pound sand. They're not coming into this county. He has the authority to do that. So get to know your county sheriff, because he
Right.
could be the last line of defense between you and something bad coming down the pike.
Get to know him in a good way, though, not in the back of the car.
Well, that happens sometimes with some of these sheriffs around the country.
I want to cover, and I sent you this earlier. I think I sent you this yesterday, Matt. It's about the Swiss.
Yes.
Great cheese, great chocolate, great watches.
And you know what? I
Not
don't
so sure about
understand.
their government.
I'm not so sure what they're thinking, because the Swiss government's one of the few out there that's still financially sound.
Right. I mean, no minimum wage.
Well, I don't know
They-
after
they,
this
uh,
if they're going to be financially sound.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know how you stay financially sound after this decision.
So go ahead and tell them what we're talking about.
So the Swiss are to vote on a $2,800 monthly income for all adults.
all adults.
This is
Every
this is
adult
great.
in the country.
This is a great. It's a
So
move.
this is universal welfare.
It's a move to combat growing pay inequality. Swiss citizens will get to vote on whether to give every adult in Switzerland a basic income. Switzerland has a little different setup in their government. So they're going to hold this vote on whether to introduce a basic income for all adults.
Basically, the
It
minimum
would be,
wage.
unconditional
No.
income of
It's
2,500
not?
Swiss francs a year. Unconditional.
It's
So that's
straight from the
$2,800
government,
a
guys.
month.
This is, like I said, universal welfare.
It's with the aim of providing a financial safety net for the population. And in Switzerland, here this is pretty interesting. Organizers submitted more than 100,000 signatures, which is what's needed to call a referendum in Switzerland on their ballot. Under Swiss law, citizens can organize initiatives that allow the channeling of public anger into direct political action. So that's what they're doing. And the country, it says, usually,
which is a good law, by the way.
it's pretty interesting. I mean, the country, as long as there's a threshold that makes sense, you know, the country usually holds several
You gonna pull this up on the screen?
referenda
I
a
can't.
year, is what it says. So here's some other things that they've done in Switzerland that I think, personally, it may be a little bit government overreach. But in March, Swiss voters backed some of the world's strictest controls on executive pay, forcing public companies to give shareholders a binding vote on compensation.
Now,
So, and there's a separate proposal.
hold on. Before you call that government overreach, I'm obviously no constitutional scholar on the Swiss government,
Right.
but at the same point, if that's what the people call for, that's what the people call for. Now,
Oh, I
that
agree.
being that being said, there is a cycle here, and this is what we're seeing here in America too. There's a cycle. It starts with freedom, and the people are gung ho, freedom lovers like our founders, and then gradually the people get more lazy, more decadent, because freedom and liberty builds success. It builds wealth, and wealth breeds decadence. And that's what the Swiss are
But
saying.
how
and
did-
that's what we're
I
seeing.
didn't say it wasn't constitutional on their part. I don't know that either.
Yeah.
Obviously it is, you know, or else it wouldn't be on their ballot.
Well, not necessarily. They could be like America. There's a lot of unconstitutional.
Are they?
But-
Are
but
they?
here-
Wait. Are they a republic like the
Uh,
U.S.?
no.
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 But so they've backed that. A separate proposal that's coming up would limit monthly executive pay in Switzerland, to no more than what the company's lowest paid staff earn in a year. It's called the 112 initiative. In other words, if I make $10,000 a year as your employee, as the CEO of the company, I can make no more than 12 times that amount.
In 1 month.
No.
Oh, in a year?
In a year.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's pretty interesting what they're doing. It's pretty socialist, you know, or borderline socialist. It's
They've
something
always
that
been rather socialistic. though.
it's something that I think is just crazy. But you know, the interesting thing is going to be, what do you guys think of this $2,800 monthly allowance? And how far are we from seeing something like that proposed by this Senate and this House? I mean,
I would say
I think that's a Pelosi-Reed bill all the way.
I would say we're almost there. I mean, look, you got people. I work my butt off, you know, and I'm by no means even you know, I consider myself very much lower middle class. I don't have a brand new car. I don't have a big fancy house. Now, those I actually met a person the other day who, he and his wife are both on welfare. They have no jobs, and they're driving a Mercedes with a brand new iPhone, and they just bought a house. Now, I would
that
say
reminds
we're
me of the
there.
days in Wisconsin. That's why one of the reasons why I left, because
Yeah.
everyone got free money, and a lot of the people I knew growing up were always somehow or another connected with Social Security, disability. A lot of them said, I had some mental issues, so I'm just going to collect a government check, get myself a brand new car, a nice house, a white picket fence, and I'll never have to work a day in my life because I know the American tax dollar is going to pay for it.
Well, let me ask you
Exactly.
guys, though, from an economics 101 point of view, what does giving everyone in the country $2,800 a month income do?
It simply breeds laziness. It's
Oh, yeah.
you're paying
more
people,
than that, Matt.
You're paying people not to work.
Well, it does more than that. It means if you give everybody in the country an extra $2,800 a month, I'm going to raise my prices. I'm going to raise your rent.
Oh, exactly.
I'm going to raise your food prices.
It-
I'm going to raise that item. I'm going to raise
But
that steak price in the
let's say-
restaurant because I know
let's
you've got
say-
the money to pay.
Let's say hypothetically here that all the business owners are very, very, very moral, and they decide not to do that. Now, what
It's
that
not immoral to do that.
well, I know. Understand.
I
what
know
I'm
where
saying.
he's going with
Yeah,
this,
okay.
the whole
Let-
Federal Reserve thing.
No. Well, sort of. But anyway, what it's going to do is it's going more and more people are going to go under the government dole, and they're not going to be working. And pretty soon you have what we're getting close to here in America, where you've got more people sucking from the system than giving into the system. And then it becomes, like we said, you can make more money by not working than you can by working. And before you know it, it becomes completely unsustainable and the whole system collapses.
Well, but this is a little different because this isn't saying that you have to be unemployed to get $2,800 a month. This is saying we're giving everyone $2,800 a month.
But
everybody.
if you can survive without working, what's the point of working?
Well, they do it in Europe.
Well-
I know when I studied overseas, and I remember a lot of them, they had 3-day weekends. They were Monday through Thursday, got Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
I suppose you could take a 7-day weekend now, but
Well, I mean,
Swiss.
I'm sure
I'm
they're
moving to Switzerland tomorrow.
Yeah.
$2,800. Hey guys, $2,800 a month, and this is probably more than I should say on the air. But that's more than I bring home from my full-time job.
But I gotta say though, if these going back to Obamacare quickly, if it's really going to be that expensive to get health insurance through the federal government, and we become a part-time society, we're obviously going to be just like England, just like Scotland.
And
where
that's the
all
point.
All we're going to be is work 4 days a week.
That's
and
the
then
point. Like I
it's-
said, this is a war on the economy. The whole idea
we're
is to
changing-
collapse
we're-
the economy.
We have friends-
We're fundamentally changing this country. I mean, Obama said it in 2008. He said, it's going to take 4 years for me to fundamentally change this country. And not even a week ago, he says, now, guys, with this government shutdown, we're this close to fundamentally 5 days. I think he said 5 days fundamentally changing this country. So if this whole Obamacare is implemented, it's obviously going to change this country in its whole and the core of the country. And the thing is that we're going to be just like every socialist country. We're going to have universal health care. The government's going to take over. It's taken over the banks. They've taken over car industries. They've taken over education. They've taken over pretty much every element, every branch of government. So what's there left for the free market?
I have friends that live in Germany, or friends of friends actually, and their comment to all of this Obamacare, or this government overreach that we have is, we're working so hard to get away from socialism. Why are you guys
They're
going
promoting it.
Why are you guys going towards it?
Back in the day,
that's a comment from just
Chris,
an average person living in Germany, but they get it.
But Chris, you probably remember this more so than Matt and I.
Trying to say I'm old.
Oh, I didn't say that, but you can go ahead and
Yeah,
say
you're
it.
the one who said it, bro.
Now, going back to Reagan's time,
I was in 6th grade when he was shot.
and talking about the fact that, back in those days, he always talked about, the free market, talked about how we need to have less government in our lives and how we need to really, really embrace freedom and embrace our republic. And nobody back then would ever say, I support socialism. And now we're at this point in history and in government that people are embracing socialism, and they're going on the news now saying, I'm a proud socialist, I'm a proud socialist. And now we're getting to the point where people are starting to say, and I see this all over Facebook, and I know it's, crazy what people post, and they're saying, communism, socialist. Those words were not used back in the 80s.
Well,
back in the 80s, it was
communist.
it was a whole different feel and a whole different. We all felt safe back then. I mean, I was young. I was probably, I can remember the 80s.
Let me weigh in here for a minute, okay?
Yeah.
Understand there's really no difference between those words, and I don't know if you ever have, but I've got a copy if you want to read it. You should read the Book of Marx, also known as the Communist Manifesto. Communism is not mentioned one time in that book. It is all socialism. Socialism is communism. Communism is this utopian dream that even the Marxists know can never happen. The idea is top-down control of everything in your life.
I get that. But I'm talking about how things have transformed 20, 30 years ago.
I understand, but when you start seeing that transition from people calling...
People see it every day now. It's on the news.
I know, but when you see that transition like we have from socialism to communism, and that's what people are calling for, that just shows you how far we've gone down the road to it.
Right.
Okay, we are no longer a republic.
I know that's
we are
scary.
no longer
But
there's
people,
no such
young
thing
people,
as democracy.
young people. Let me say, I've mentioned this before. A lot of young people that are younger than us, they only remember Clinton. They remember Bush. They remember what those two eras were like, and back in those
and yes, we're
periods
now
of
into
time,
overtime, guys.
Back in that period of time, people did not understand what Reagan was like. They don't understand what times were like the 8 years he was in office back in the 80s. And it was a whole different atmosphere back then. It was a whole different feel for country back then.
Well, I think it's important to take a step back even further than even if you're just using Reagan as the benchmark, to take a step back further than his election in 80. You got to take this back.
I'm talking about recent history.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is still recent history.
Okay. This is before my time?
Probably. But you got to take it back before that. You got to take it back to 70.
Can we turn the page? You got a video to show?
5. You got to take it back. No, there was no video back then.
I feel the cloud coming above his head.
This is when he wrote a
We have some
pterodactyl
black
to
and white
California
stuff, but you got to take it back
many moons ago.
to his race against Gerald Ford in 76. And if you look at this, and Mark Levin did a great job of this on his show a few weeks ago, comparing Cruz to Reagan a little bit. He didn't go totally to that point, but Reagan was the Cruz of his day. Nobody in the establishment liked him.
He was a rebel.
Nobody liked him. He was challenging the sitting Republican president for the nomination.
We need those in every state, not
Absolutely.
just
That's right.
at the federal government.
He
Every
had a
state
clear
needs to have
vision.
one.
He had a clear direction for the country. Ford didn't. And he came damn close to beating Ford. It was very close. Ford won, but it set him up for the following 4 years to run again and be our nominee. You've got to, first of all, you've got to articulate your position and have a clear message. Then you've got to stay with it, because it may not be that election you win. It may be the next one or the one after that. Let's remember Lincoln also, went.
He lost
5
10
times.
races. He lost 10 times? Was it 5, 10?
5 or 6.
Oh,
But
that was before my time.
was it? That, believe it or not, was before mine too.
Oh, really?
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow. If you can't see it, guys,
If you
there's
can't
a lot
see
of
it-
gray here.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Thank God the wall makes it blend in. It's stick to your principles, stick to your values. Eventually, if you can articulate them right, the country will come around to your point of view.
And that is, of course, if your values
if they're real.
are real. And again, it goes back to the Constitution. A constitutional stand will always win out over time. It always will, because the Constitution is based on, number one, actually, the Bible, believe it or not. Number two, common law, which is actually above the Constitution, and that's kind of a deep subject. We'll get into that some other day. And number three, basic human rights, which tie directly into common law. So you have to go back to the Constitution.
God's given rights.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, basic human rights, whether you call them gods and God-given
Endowed
rights
by
or
our
natural
Creator.
rights. Yeah, I mean, there's a big atheism movement I'm not a part of, but you know what? If you don't believe in God,
That's their right
whatever.
if they don't want to believe it.
That's your right, even under the Constitution. Even
But
the
don't throw it in
founders
my
thought that.
face.
That's right.
Same thing with religion.
Yep.
Don't throw it in my face.
Yep.
whatever your faith is should be to yourself.
We have
Keep
freedom.
It to
We have
yourself.
freedom of religion.
Well,
So it allows you to practice whatever religion.
Oh,
you would
and
like
by
to
the by
be.
It's
the
not.
way,
It's not. Oh, happy holidays are coming up here soon too.
by by
Get
the
ready
way,
to put the Christmas decorations up since many of the stores have already done it. It's time to put the tree up at home.
yeah. By the way, since we got on this subject, then we really do need to switch gears. But anyway, I'll say this. There is a separation of church and state. There really is. But it's been completely inverted today. It is not the Constitution does not say anything about the church. The church has the First Amendment just like we do. The church can say whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. The state has no jurisdiction over the church whatsoever. Neither does the IRS, by the way. And I'm helping a friend who is wanting to start a church. And he was looking into this, so I showed him the statutes. Even the IRS says that churches do not have to be 501c3. And by signing that 501c3, they put themselves under the regulatory law. So we need to understand that there is that big difference there between what is real and what has been pushed on the public.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember when we first started the Paul Revere Facebook page, there was an article that I put up there.
There's
And this
been
is
a lot
becoming.
put up,
Yeah,
you're going to have a hard
I
time
mean,
finding it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of trying to find it here. A lot of it, you know, over the years, we were losing so many freedoms that we've held dear for, 200 years now. And the fact that the federal government can jump into someone's house and say, you're not allowed to have Bible study. And that's, you know, one of the articles that was, and it was actually shown on Fox News.
Yeah, and that happened actually
And it was
several
shut
years
up.
ago.
Yeah, but I know. But I mean, there's other examples of that
Yeah,
are very similar.
But you're
in
right,
nature.
because of the state-run media, it was that whole topic was shut down really, really fast
yeah.
outside of the alternative media.
Right.
Now, you know, the alternative media is still talking about it. We're talking about it right now. But, you know, you'll never see that. You will never see that on cable. Never. Okay. Now,
Oh, here we go. I found it right here.
Oh, good.
Let me pull it up.
I
real
can't
quick.
I can't put it up on screen. That computer's screwed up. So,
is it?
yeah. At any rate, I'm going to switch gears anyway.
Well, if you want to, I'll post it on Paul Revere TV.
yeah,
again.
repost it.
I'll repost it.
Repost. You can do it right now. But anyway, I'm going to switch gears here, guys. There's something we really, really, really need to pay attention to. It just happened, actually a couple weeks ago, but this is the first time I've had a chance to actually talk about it. And I'm going to put an article on screen here. John Kerry actually signed the Arms Trade Treaty. And you're not hearing anything about this in the news because you're not supposed to. This is supposed to be done quietly.
Quiet in politics?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot done quietly, just like we talked about earlier with them
All the time.
making them.
I mean,
making
we all
it legal to insider
we all
trade.
personally know a lot of politicians locally.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you that every time I find out that someone made a deal somewhere, I'm not shocked because it happens all the time.
on every level of government.
Every level.
But this is an international trade treaty on guns. All right, and I'm going to read this quote here that happened.
And as you do that, Matt, I just want to point out that this isn't some right-wing news media source putting this out. This is Reuters.
Yes.
This is
This is Reuters, and
a
this is,
mainstream news media.
now I'm going to point out some things that you won't see on mainstream news media. Okay. In July of 2001, the UN spokesman, when asked about the Arms Trade Treaty, said this, and I quote, "Civilian ownership of any firearm in the United States threatens the legitimate power monopoly of the state. This is what the Arms Trade Treaty is about. This is not about stopping so-called illicit guns, because there really are no illicit guns. You have a Second Amendment right to own basically anything you want. And under the true Constitution, all of the regulations on guns are basically illegal. But this is really a ploy to do away with guns because, quite honestly, dictators don't like armed slaves, just like thieves don't like armed victims. I'm going to show you how this started years and years and years ago under the guise of controlling nuclear weapons right here with a document from 1961 that is referenced in the Arms Trade Treaty, and I'll put it on screen. The State Department Memorandum 7277. And if you look, freedom from war, the United States program for general and complete disarmament in a peaceful world. Now, they do shadow this with talk of nuclear weapons, but the simple fact is that it takes very little research to find out that when they say general and complete, this is about much more than nuclear weapons. This is a total disarmament of America. This is the plan on record. This is not some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. This is real. I'm showing you the official document from the United States government, the State Department. And in fact, you can see right here that to get it from Washington, D.C. in 1961 cost you 15 cents, and that goes back to inflation like we talked about earlier.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Really?
This, when you look through here, and in the interest of time, because we're already, like I said earlier, in overtime, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I'm not going to go through every point that I wanted to.
It would be here all day.
Yeah, I would be here all day. It's actually not very long. I highly suggest that you guys read it. If you just
and it may be something, Matt, we want to cover on next week's show.
Yeah, we will. We will. But I'm going to talk just a little bit more about it here. I would highly encourage everyone to look it up, and I'll put it on the chat so you guys have an easier way to find it. It's State Department Memorandum, and I'm going to abbreviate it. It's 7277. I really want you guys to go read this. It's horrifying. Because everything that the so-called conspiracy theorists have been saying about them doing gun roundups has come true.
Well, I know that. And if you look at like the Drudge Report, and I didn't mention earlier, there was like this girl that was suspended for wearing a shirt that had the NRA shirt. And so after a few weeks, the principal did call her up and apologize. But this is becoming daily routine all the time in the news. That's all you're seeing is the fact that I saw another study for a kid who was taking a test, and they took out the part about the Second Amendment, saying that that people have the right to bear arms. I mean, it's just continuously in the news all the time. And this is stuff that I was. This is the stuff I was. Wait. This is the stuff I was mentioning before. This is the stuff I was mentioning before about the whole Reagan time. Back in the 1980s, we didn't have this kind of stuff going on. Now all of a sudden we're being shot down about our amendment rights, and it's just it's
well,
scary,
and it's not that it just started. It's been snowballing. Things are speeding up, and quite honestly, when I look at what's going on today, I think it's very easy to understand that what's actually happening is the people are starting to wake up, and that's why things are going faster.
I agree.
Because the people in charge right now understand that if they don't win, if they don't get full control at this point, if we don't totally do away with the Constitution and put basically...
You mean rewrite the Constitution?
No, totally do away with the Constitution.
Oh.
And I'm talking about a push right now that I see for complete dictatorship. And I know that sounds far out there, guys.
That does sound fine.
But it sounds far out there. But look at what's going on. Okay, you got a president that's ordering things to be shut down that he doesn't even have control over while he goes and plays golf. If that's not dictatorial, I don't know what is.
I hear he's not even very good.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't pay attention to his golf score. But at any rate, look at what's going on just locally here in Florida. We've got people going to we got kids getting suspended from school for playing cops and robbers using their fingers as a gun.
Not even on school grounds.
Well, no, this happened.
Yeah, you heard about that one, right?
Story,
yeah. I heard about the one where they're using an airsoft gun on their own property.
No, what about that kid that brought the he ate his sandwich that made it into a shape of a gun?
I think that was a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, it was a Pop-Tart, and he was sent home for that.
Don't even get me started on school vouchers as a way to get rid of this insanity. But
better
that's
yet,
a whole nother show.
Better yet, guys, if you have the possibility and you have kids, if there's any way you can do it, homeschool them. Get them out of the schools, because the schools are not schools anymore. They are indoctrination centers.
Did you hear too that the kids are not even being taught how to write in cursive?
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
That's amazing to me.
They stopped allowing us to write in cursive when I was in high school.
Really?
Yes.
Not me. I mean, when I was in school,
Way back
wait.
then?
Yeah. I gotta say, things that when I was in school, we used to play, Cowboys and Indians. We used to take out, the
But
Nerf.
now that's
wait.
that's racially offensive.
Oh wait, I just realized just now. I'm like, when's the last time you've seen a Nerf commercial?
Cowboys and Native
A
Americans.
Nerf.
Okay?
Oh yeah, a Nerf commercial. On
I don't know.
TV.
Honestly,
When's
I don't
the
watch
last time
TV.
well, I mean, for kids on Saturday mornings,
I don't
you
even
always
turn
saw
it on.
you always saw the toy guns. You don't see those anymore. I mean, you might see them in the toy aisle, but I'm just saying you don't see those commercials, those ads on TV. Do
Yeah.
I? I've never seen them.
I honestly, being completely honest here, I stay away from TV. I almost never turn it on. I can't remember the last time I turned my TV on and actually
But what
watched
I'm
anything but
saying-
C-SPAN.
The things that we got away with when we were kids, these kids today can't do the same things that we did.
No, absolutely not. If I did some of the things that I did just joking around in high school, if the kids do it today, they go to jail.
Jail. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I think most of you, Matt, I know you know, I have a almost 3-year-old golden retriever, and I leave the TV on for her when I leave the
He's
house.
indoctrinating his dog.
So she is.
The dog is a Florida native, by the way.
She is a staunch Republican. She is a C-SPAN watcher. But every time I come home and ask her what's gone on C-SPAN, I say, "How's it going?" And she goes,
Don't say
it's
rough.
rough."
I knew it was
That
coming.
was a
It's,
very, very bad
I
joke.
think it's
Yeah.
a good way to end the show.
Yeah. So guys, yeah.
This show has been rough today, Chris.
Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Guys, make sure you go and read this memorandum. Get to know the things that are going on behind the scenes. That's the only way we're going to change things. Remember, tell your friends about the show. We are
Spread the word, man.
Spread the word. We are definitely running on a shoestring budget here. We're still using very crappy mics, so we will improve over time.
And we need some money.
Yeah, we do.
Should we start
but
asking
hey,
for money
no,
yet?
we can't really
Oh.
because we don't even have a business license yet,
Darn
guys.
it.
We're doing this completely on our own dime at this
Yep.
point.
So
So
illegal right now?
no, we're not illegal.
We're not on the airwaves yet.
No, we're on the internet.
Well,
We're
I
on the
know, but we
internet.
need
Now,
to be. If we could be in the air, wouldn't that be cool?
well, technically, I could set
the-
that
like
up
the
really
drones
cheap, but we would
in
be
the air
considered a
would be-
pirate.
Oh, pirate.
Yeah, because
Yo
it's illegal.
ho yo.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna wind this down because it's quickly degrading into something it shouldn't. So you guys have a good day, and hey,
and
don't
make sure that you get yourself one of these. I don't
Yes,
know.
absolutely. And guys, once we do get things worked out and we cut through the red tape, I'm going to start selling books and stuff online that I've read and that I approve. I will not put anything up there that I don't personally know to be accurate and good. One of the things we are going to do, if you can see this, I know it probably a lot of glare from the light.
I'm sure they have it on full screen, so
Yeah,
it's
but
probably
there's a lot of
bigger than what
glare.
it looks like on your screen
Yeah.
right there.
So anyway, this is the Citizens Rule Book. I would really recommend this. It's not only the Constitution, it's also your rights and responsibilities for a jury.
Look, we're already building
jury
an audience right
nullification.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, of course we are.
All right.
Of course we are. People like to hear the truth.
Well, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in for our first official show.
We didn't put
You
them
know,
to sleep.
there-
It looks like.
there's a lot of parts to still put together, a lot of kinks to work out. It's what happens when you start a new show. But thank you guys for listening and for taking part. I want to thank Matt.
Thank
too.
you.
I
Thanks,
mean,
Matt.
We have a great group here,
But Matt
I
puts a
wanna
lot
thank
of work
Matt
into
for
it.
really making it all happen with the wires. You don't see him here because we keep them low, but
There's one.
We got wires and desks and
Actually,
mics and
Chris
cables
is
yeah.
resting his foot on probably about 15 pounds worth of wires underneath
absolutely,
the table.
Yeah,
here,
guys, there's probably
But,
$300 worth of wires. About 5 miles worth of cables running through here.
Matt's
It's
put all
a
this
mess.
tech stuff together to make this show happen, and he really deserves a lot of
Well,
credit.
thanks.
He does.
I'm not doing this for the credit, guys. I don't thank you for the recognition. That's all well and good, but I'm doing this because this is my last ditch effort. This is really trying to keep me from going insane. So I'm actually doing something in case
Right.
things completely fall apart.
Were you gonna say fall asleep?
Yeah, I was. I don't know what. I tell you, this is degrading into something it shouldn't. So anyway, guys, hey, head down if you're in the area. Head down to Anthony's on the Boulevard and see us there, and let us know what you think of the show.
Great food and great cause down there.
And
it's
we're gonna
only
get
$10, so make the trip and come talk to us. Tell us how we did.
And have some pig.
Well, yeah, we know.
It's a pig roast, right?
It's a pig roast. Also known as a jihadist repellent.
Oh, we're gonna bring religion to this now, or what?
All right, I'm
hungry. Let's
I shouldn't
go.
have done that. I'm sorry. Okay, yes, that's a good idea. We'll look at Kickstarter. So thanks, guys, and we're gonna wrap this up. We'll see you next time. Have a good week.